Chapter 2941. I say, you people, have you finished your research yet? Are you going to exchange or not? The envoy from the evil sky territory was not one of the sinners from the other territories, rather he was a true evil heavenly demon. Being brought to the deck of the heaven's shadow, he looked at everyone with disdain. Exchange, of course we'll exchange. We will be in the void, waiting for you to exchange. Without waiting for the others to speak, Night Sorrow spoke with knit brows. At the same time, he opened the clam dragon's eye to observe the other side. Observing like this, Night Sorrow was surprised to find that this evil heavenly demon's aura was very similar to the other heavenly demons. He guessed that this evil heavenly demon was related to the other heavenly demons. But in this aspect, Night Sorrow did not think too much about it. What surprised him even more was that this evil heavenly demon was clearly very strong. At least he was stronger than the current 10,000 sword sect. Even if the evil heavenly demon territory was strong, it was impossible for everyone to be this strong. If you want to exchange, then exchange on the planet with the eternal god Crystal Vein. The envoy from the evil sky territory said in an unquestionable voice. We don't kill envoys when fighting, so I'll let you go. Don't think that I can't see what kind of strength you have. Night Sorrow looked at the other side and said this before continuing, if you want to obtain 100 identity tokens without spilling a drop of blood, then exchange here. You have some eyes, you're not the normal divine king. The envoy from the evil sky territory revealed an evil charming smile. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, it's fine here, but the number of identity tokens has to be increased to 150. We've already heard from the other cultivators that you are in charge of the divine realm. These 150 identity tokens are not just for Golden Xian, but also to keep their mouths shut. I think that your divine realm will not want the other powerful territories to know your strength, right? All right. I'll agree. As soon as the evil heavenly demon finished speaking, Night Sorrow agreed. After the evil heavenly demon left, the 10,000 sword sect asked in a doubtful voice, in my opinion, they would definitely exchange 50 for Golden Xian, there's no need to take out 150. That's right. I also feel that 150 is too much. Xing He from the Starsource territory said in a deep voice. 150 identity tags were probably enough to enter the top 200 in the second round. Tian Yu added, I shouldn't say that. But 150 identity nameplates are indeed too much. We'll give them as much as they want. Then, he would use his strength to take it back. So, whether it's 100 or 150, it's just a number. At this moment, Yi Shang spoke in a resounding voice. He looked at everyone and said firmly, the exchange of people is complete. Let's attack them immediately. But there are more than 100 of them, and they're fighting in the sky. It shouldn't be convenient for them to set up a formation, right? Without the help of the formation, we might not be their match. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xiao Tianxian frowned and said. There were around 100 people in Xie Tian's territory. In their current divine realm territory, adding in the other forces under them, they only had around 40-50 people. The difference in numbers was a bit large. Yes. In the void, we are hardly a match for evil sky fiends. Rashly fighting isn't a wise move. Tian Yu continued to persuade. In his opinion, evil sky fiends were not easy to deal with. Adding in the fact that the other side had around 50 more sovereigns, there was a large difference in strength between the two sides. If it was any other territory, I wouldn't have the confidence to defeat them. But against evil sky fiends, I have absolute confidence. Everyone, believe me and prepare for battle. Moreover, this time we'll use our half-step supreme divine weapons. We'll fight without holding back. A deep smile appeared on Yi Shang's face as he looked up at the void. His power of virtue was the absolute nemesis of the sky fiends. As long as they fought, he was confident that he could quickly defeat the main characters of the other side. All right. We'll fight to our heart's content. Seeing that Knight Sorrow had made up his mind, Xiao Tianxian didn't try to persuade him anymore. Tianyu, Xing He, and the others also didn't say anything. They were worried at first, but thinking of Knight Sorrow's past achievements, they didn't say anything. They knew that he must have something to rely on. At this time, Knight Sorrow asked, Brother Wan, in the dozens of years that I've been away, did you teach Tianyu and the others the joint attack technique? Without your instructions, of course we wouldn't teach it. But in these dozens of years of battles, everyone would run away when they encountered experts. We only fought with some small territories, and there weren't many casualties. Myriad Sword Sect replied. In the years that Knight Sorrow wasn't around, their battles were quite conservative. If there was even the slightest movement, they would run away. It's good to be cautious. I'm very happy to see that all of you are fine. Knight Sorrow looked at Murong Ziliu, Yuan Fingxue, and the others, and continued, now, teach everyone the joint attack technique without holding back. I'll go and refine some deity talismans. After saying that, Knight Sorrow returned to his seclusion array and started refining merit deity talismans. The power of virtue was the nemesis of evil sky fiends. To them, these merit deity talismans were much stronger than ordinary sovereign's deity talismans. From start to finish, Knight Sorrow had refined a total of 50 merit deity talismans. After distributing one to everyone, Knight Sorrow kept the remaining ones, preparing to use them in battle. About half a month later, 3 extremely large battleships sailed from the dark void towards Knight Sorrow and the others. When Knight Sorrow saw these battleships, he led the others to board the Sky Shadow and rushed towards them. Knight Sorrow knew that if the location was set on a planet, the other party would definitely not come. But if it was set in the void, it would be a different story. Where are they? When the two sides got closer, Knight Sorrow immediately looked in the direction of the enemy's main battleship and asked without hesitation. Of course we brought them. What about the 200 identity badges? After Knight Sorrow spoke, the leader of the evil sky fiends, Xia Kong, immediately asked. At the same time, Jin Xian and the other cultivators were all brought to the deck of the main battleship. F***CK. You guys are too much. We agreed on 100, then we negotiated it to 150. Why are you asking for 200 now? Hearing Xia Kong's words, the hot-tempered master of the Myriad Sword Sect immediately questioned. Because I want this number. The leader of the evil sky fiends, Xia Kong, said coldly. Then he said arrogantly, and because you don't have the right to negotiate with us face to face. If you don't agree, I'll kill all of you immediately. Good. Very good. You're right. I'll give you 200 identity badges. When the leader of the evil sky fiends finished speaking, master of the Myriad Sword Sect and the others were completely enraged. But Knight Sorrow only smiled. He handed over 200 identity badges and said, we'll give you the identity badges. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version website, M. Chapter 2942. You're very cooperative. You're someone who can achieve great things. Xia Kong, the leader of the evil heavenly demons, laughed. If you choose not to cooperate, all of you will die today. I'm very satisfied that I got 200 identity tags without any bloodshed. I'll spare you all. Thank you for taking care of us, Leader Xia Kong. Knight Sorrow said with a fake smile. Then let's start the deal. All right. Bring those cultivators to me. Xia Kong ordered his men to bring Jin Xian and the rest to his side. He smiled at Jin Xian. You should be proud that you're worth 200 identity tags. Brother Yi, I'm not worth 200 identity tags. Don't pay such a price for me. We've been fighting for so many years, and we've only accumulated 200 of them. If you use them to exchange for me, Jin Xian will die of depression. Jin Xian's face was gloomy. He did not expect Xia Kong to use him to extort 200 identity tags. Moreover, Night Sorrow had decided to give it to him. He knew very well that they had only obtained 200 identity tags in 70 years of fighting. Taking out 200 identity tags at once was equivalent to emptying the realm of the gods' capital. This way, the realm of the gods' hopes of getting a good ranking would be destroyed. We can still get more identity tags even if we lose them. But a brother only has one life. Jin Xian, you don't have to say any more. Not one of us can be left behind. Yi Shang said as he tossed the interspatial bag with the identity tag into the air. Hee, at least you know what's good for you. These 200 identity tags are not only to save him, but also to save yourselves. The leader of the evil heavenly demons, Xia Kong, laughed evilly. His laughter was very arrogant and unbridled. Sigh. Jin Xian could not help but sigh when he heard Xia Kong's laughter. He felt that he had caused the realm of the gods to lose too much. The other cultivators who had also been rescued had expressions of relief on their faces. However, at this time, Stone Mountain walked out and looked at one of the rulers of the Stone Mountain territory. Who told Jin Xian about the realm of the gods? This. Chief, we were forced to do this. The ruler of the Cliff Peak territory immediately replied timidly when he heard Stone Mountain's question. Because he had sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao, he could not lie in front of Rocky Mountain in the second round of the battle for Providence. Humph. Although my Cliff Peak territory is weak, we don't have spineless people. Hearing this, Cliff Mountain coldly snorted and directly killed the cultivator from the Cliff Peak territory. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This kind of thing will not happen a second time." Yes. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say much, but in his heart, he was quite satisfied with Rocky Mountain's decisiveness. With Stone Mountain at the front, Underworld Monarch and Xing Yuan also took action and killed the two cultivators who betrayed Jin Xian and the God Realm. It doesn't matter how we formed the alliance. Right now, we are all friends who share our lives. Don't let this happen again. Remember, my territory in the divine world needs to be embroidered in embroidered robes at night. We can't obtain good results on the surface. Therefore, in the end, the ones who will obtain good rankings are your territories. Night Sorrow sent a message to everyone in the territories and coldly said, "Prepare for battle. Destroy the evil heavenly demon territory. Take back what belongs to us. Kill." After Night Sorrow gave the order, everyone in the divine world territory roared out. That kind of excited roar made Jin Xian's body suddenly tremble. He immediately reacted. What Night Sorrow wanted to do, he felt all the hair on his body stand up and roared, "Kill." What? My Xia Tian territory let you trash go, you actually want to take the initiative to attack. Hearing the divine world territory's people shouting the word, "Kill," the leader of the evil heavenly demon territory, Xia Kong's face suddenly became gloomy. Originally, he didn't have to fight to subdue the enemy troops, which made him feel very satisfied. Not only will we attack, we will also completely wipe you out. If you want to blame yourself for being too greedy. Night Sorrow took out the half-step supreme artifact golden heavenly halberd from the space grotto heaven and suddenly smashed it in the void. With a bang, a huge ripple was created. Then he roared, "Kill. Leave Xia Kong to me. Since you want to die, then this leader will help you. Warriors of the Xia Tian territory, kill with me. Kill them all." The leader of the evil heavenly demon territory, Xia Kong, was instantly enraged. He pointed the scepter in his hand at the divine world territory's people and roared out his order. "Kill. The evil heavenly demon territory's cultivators and their slaves, hearing Xia Kong's order, immediately roared out and turned into flowing lights in the void, killing the cultivators of the divine world territory. Everyone, go all out, don't hold back. This is the first test for my divine world territory. Kill. Night Sorrow roared out and turned into the fastest flowing light, killing the leader of the evil heavenly demon territory's people. Half-step supreme artifact, and its grade is very high. Good, very good. This chief will personally snatch it away. Seeing the half-step supreme artifact golden heavenly halberd in Night Sorrow's hands, the leader of the evil heavenly demon territory, Xia Kong, revealed a smile. The scepter in his hand was obviously of a higher grade than the golden heavenly halberd. And Night Sorrow's cultivation was at the peak of the Divine King's cultivation. He had not reached the sovereign realm, so he felt that it was like a child wielding a treasure sword. It was impossible for him to kill a middle-aged man like him. If you want to take my golden heavenly halberd, then let's see if you have the strength to do so. Originally, Night Sorrow could have formed a joint attack with the Myriad Sword Sect and Shao Tianxian, but he felt that the two territories had to fight. The leaders had to fight each other, and this was a symbolic event. With a roar, he released his virtuous energy, forming a golden virtuous divine domain around him. What? Virtuous energy. Seeing the virtuous energy, Xia Kong's face changed immediately. However, the shock in his eyes disappeared in a flash, and he did not hesitate to attack with his scepter. A thick dark green light was immediately shot out from the scepter, and it suddenly blasted towards Night Sorrow. Reincarnation Spear. Facing this attack, Night Sorrow did not panic at all. He raised his hand and attacked with the golden heavenly halberd. The golden light shot out from the golden heavenly halberd immediately collided with the dark green light in the void. After the two types of light clashed for a while, the golden light suddenly became stronger and suppressed the dark green light. It suddenly blasted towards Xia Kong. Xia Tian Doppelganger Technique. Facing the oppressive golden light, Xia Kong silently chanted, and 9 figures appeared. He used one of the figures to block the golden light. The other 8 doppelgangers all prepared to attack. 2 of them are the real body. The other 7 are doppelgangers. Night Sorrow immediately activated the Sea Serpent's Eye and observed for a while. He realized that the Xia Kong that blocked the attack was the real one. And among his doppelgangers, there was one real body. This proved that he had 2 real bodies. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2943. If my avatar came to the eternal supreme world, it would be the same. Thinking of his avatar and his family in the divine world, Night Sorrow felt a bit emotional, but he instantly recovered. Taking out the ruler divine weapon from his spatial artifact, one ruler divine weapon and the other half supreme divine weapon, he used the Yang clan's heaven-splitting art on his 2 avatars. The 2 divine weapons were pierced through and turned into 2 golden lights. These 2 golden lights, although they were much thinner than the previous ones, they were much stronger. I never thought that a divine king like you would not only be able to release this kind of attack, you could even see through my avatar. Xia Kong of the evil heavenly demon territory saw that Night Sorrow was actually attacking his 2 avatars. He instantly understood that Night Sorrow had already seen through his avatar. His true body and avatar both took out their divine weapons and attacked to block Night Sorrow's attack. With his counterattack, the 2 of them were in a stalemate. At the same time, the divine world people with the merit god talisman exploded with battle strength that was much stronger than the Xia Tian territory people imagined. Many times, when the Xia Tian territory cultivators were about to kill the divine world people would throw out the merit god talisman to heavily injure them. As for the cultivators enslaved by the Xia Tian territory, they didn't put in any effort, most of them just wanted to protect themselves. As for the Divine World side, the 10,000 Sword sect was an unsolvable problem for the Xia Tian territory. Charging left and right, fighting to this point, they had already killed 3 rulers. As for Xiao Tianxian, he wasn't any weaker, also killing 3 rulers. Although the 2 of them didn't have Knight Soro's cooperation, they could still take care of each other, so their battle strength was very strong. After fighting for around 2 hours, the Xia Tian territory had lost over 30 rulers. As for the Divine World side, there were 5-6 people who had crushed their identity tokens and not a single one of them had been killed. This was all thanks to Knight Soro's Merit God Talisman. Leader, if this continues, we might not be a match. What should we do now? Fight or retreat? The situation wasn't looking good. A ruler of the Xia Tian territory sent a sound transmission to Xia Kong, asking for his opinion. Bastard! How could my Xia Tian territory be defeated by this kind of trash territory? Fight! Don't retreat. Xia Kong, who had been battling Knight Soro to the climax, replied unhappily when he heard that his subordinates wanted to retreat. At the same time, he fused his true body and clone together and ignited his bloodline power. He suddenly roared, "Supreme Evil Sky Slash!" The scepter in his hand immediately produced a thick blade aura that slashed towards Knight Soro. It illuminated the already brightly lit void, making it seem as if it was daytime. 33 heavens. Facing Xia Kong's desperate attack, Knight Soro didn't dare to be careless. He immediately activated his secret battle technique and raised his strength to the peak. Then, he directly used the Merit Trap Array on Xia Kong. Together with the Gentle Dragon Roar and the Reincarnation Spear Art, Xia Kong's attack was very powerful, and it broke the Virtuous Trap Array. However, Knight Soro had already successfully dodged it. Furthermore, after the Gentle Dragon Roar and the Reincarnation Spear technique were used, he immediately held the Golden Heavenly Halberd and approached Xia Kong to engage in close combat. Boom! Evil Sky's Supreme Slash, which Yi Shang had dodged, left a long tail in the air before exploding. It was obvious that this attack was very powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that the void was big enough and they were far away from each other, the others might have been affected. Your strongest attack didn't work, so you're doomed. Knight Soro condensed his power of merit and formed a protective divine territory again as he engaged in close combat with Xia Kong. Xia Kong, who was originally not inferior to Knight Soro in close combat, found it very difficult to resist the power of merit. Knight Soro, who had been fighting with him for so long and had only fully unleashed his power of merit, had a terrifying aura after completely exploding. You can defeat me, but I can easily leave. If I remember correctly, your territory in the realm of the gods was the territory that was destroyed by many strong people. When I get out, I'll tell everyone about your rise. Let's see if those territories will let you go. Xia Kong had a sinister look on his face. While fighting with Knight Soro, he had already begun to think of a way out. After fighting for a while, he began to call for help to fight against Knight Soro. Although they had lost some juggernauts, they still had the upper hand in terms of numbers. Self-destruct. Self-destruct and kill him. After gathering 4 cultivators from other territories, Xia Kong immediately ordered 2 of them to self-destruct. He wanted to use this to fight against Knight Soro. You want to use self-destruct to deal with me? Not so easy. Knight Soro, who had seen through Xia Kong's intentions, laughed coldly and used the Void Dragon movement technique to hide. He also set up a virtuous trap array. He easily dodged the self-destruct power of 2 juggernauts. Bastard! This can't even hurt him. How can there be such a troublesome divine king? Seeing that Knight Soro easily dodged the self-destruct power of 2 juggernauts, he muttered in his heart. At the same time, he looked at the 2 juggernauts beside him and said, "Lend me a hand. Let's kill him together." Yes. Sir Xia Kong. The two juggernauts beside him were not from Xia Tian's territory, but they had already sworn a heavenly oath. After receiving the order, they immediately joined him and began to fight against Night Sorrow. 3 against 1. Do you really think there's no one in my God Realm territory? On the other side, seeing the 3 people from Xia Tian's territory fighting against Night Sorrow himself, the 10,000 Sword sect immediately rushed over. Also rushing over was Xiao Tianxian, who had just taken care of an opponent. He looked at Xia Kong and said, "Die. You want this one to die? It's not that easy." Xia Kong was very unhappy that the 10,000 Sword sect and Xiao Tianxian had come over to help, but he was very stubborn and would not give in. Whether it's easy or not, you'll understand soon enough. Night Sorrow knew that with the 10,000 Sword sect and Xiao Tianxian coming over to help, the other people in the God Realm territory would have a hard time fighting. With a roar, he sent a voice transmission to the 2 of them, "Let's fight." "All right." The 10,000 Sword sect replied and used the Great Immortal Sword technique. It turned into a giant sword and slashed out at one of the cultivators. Xiao Tianxian attacked the other cultivator beside Xia Kong. The 2 of them did not have any plans to use a joint attack, so Night Sorrow continued to fight against Xia Kong. "You can defeat me, but you can't kill me. I'm not going to play with you anymore." Xia Kong fought with Night Sorrow for a while, but after finding that he could not win, he gave up on the idea of fighting. He took out his identity token and crushed it, wanting to leave the ancient battlefield of the second round. "Wanting to leave? Is it really as easy as you think?" Yi Shang said coldly as he faced Xia Kong, who was trying to escape. In that instant, Xia Kong's body trembled as he loudly shouted, "Impossible, this is impossible." Clan M. Chapter 2944. Impossible what? What's impossible? I've said it before, it's not that easy to escape. Looking at the shocked Xia Kong, Night Sorrow coldly said. When Xia Kong took out the identity token, he had used the divine weapon he borrowed from the 10,000 Sword sect to temporarily stop time. He had successfully snatched the identity token from Xia Kong's hands. Xia Kong's face was filled with disbelief. This divine weapon, it really is a good thing. What Brother Wan has, I definitely can't take. But I can study it and then refine one myself. Playing with the divine weapon in his hand, Night Sorrow looked at Xia Kong again and said, "Die." Suddenly, he activated the virtuous trapping formation again, trapping Xia Kong within it. When Night Sorrow appeared again, Xia Kong had disappeared and was replaced by a large amount of identity tokens. The 200 from the God Realm and the 357 from the Xia Tian territory. The Xia Tian territory had more identity tokens than the God Realm. This made Night Sorrow a bit surprised. With these 357 identity tokens, Night Sorrow was clear that among them, at least one of them could enter the top 20. As for the top 10, it wasn't safe. As for the God Realm, it wasn't a problem for them to appear. While Night Sorrow was thinking, the battle between the two sides continued. But most of the cultivators in the Xia Tian territory found a chance to crush their identity tokens. In the end, the God Realm had won. The people in the Xia Tian territory, if they didn't escape, they would be killed. There was no other result. Good. I never thought that defeating the Xia Tian territory would give us 400 identity tokens. This is more than 70 years of fighting. After the battle ended, the 10,000 Sword sect took everything while sighing with emotion. Suddenly obtaining so many identity tokens, he felt very good. The most important thing was that not a single person from the God Realm had died. Although Xuechang Tian, Nye Changlin, and Jin Xian were all heavily injured, they could recover with pills. I feel that as the battle for destiny progresses, there will be less and less small territories. Replacing them will be all kinds of giants. I think that from now on, every battle won't be simple. Night Sorrow looked at Sky's Shadow and said, I will hand over all the identity tokens I obtained today to the Sky's Shadow territory. However, you should be clear about the rules. The rewards obtained will belong to our divine realm. Don't worry, I know about this. Although Tianyu knew that all the rewards would be given to the God realm, he was still very happy. After all, unparalleled Heavenly Shadow had already been eliminated, and the Heavenly Shadow territory could only rely on him. As long as one's ranking was good, regardless of whether or not they could obtain rewards, the Heavenly Shadow territory would give them the best resources. The other territories don't have to be envious. I will strive to make every territory here enter the top 100 of the second round. Any higher and it doesn't match your strength. Night Sorrow knew that if he directly handed over all the identity tokens he had obtained today to the Sky's Shadow territory, the other territories that had also participated in the battle would definitely have objections. Thus, he added, "Ha!" When Brother Yi said this, we felt very warm inside. If we can really get into the top 100 for the Cliff territory, Cliff Mountain, will have a bright future. Cliff Mountain from the Cliff territory said excitedly when he heard Night Sorrow's words. When he participated in the second round of the battle, he did not even prepare to advance to the finals. He did not expect that he would get such a good opportunity after joining the God Realm. Ming Jun, Blue Heart, Xing He, and the others were also very satisfied with Night Sorrow's words. At this time, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Tianyu. The Sky's Shadow territory must at least get into the top 10. The higher the better. Thank you, Brother Yi. Tianyu said gratefully. Everyone, clean up the battlefield. Whoever kills the opponent will get the resources. The people of the God realm will not snatch them. Night Sorrow said and asked everyone to clean up the battlefield. After that, Night Sorrow gathered everyone together and had a meeting. Then, he began to cultivate again. His goal was to break through to the sovereign realm. Therefore, he had to make full use of the time to cultivate. After Night Sorrow entered the state of cultivation, the others continued to fight under the leadership of Xiao Tianxian and Wan Jianzong. After 15 years of continuous fighting, they obtained more than 100 identity tags. At this time, it was very close to the end of the 100-year period. Many territories had disappeared and the battle could end at any time. Xiao Tianxian distributed the identity badges he had obtained to the people of the various territories and said, in case the competition ends abruptly, distribute the badges now. When we get more badges in the future, we will distribute them accordingly. Okay. Thank you very much. The people from the other territories also received their tokens one after another. Furthermore, they had more tokens than the people from the firmament world. On the other hand, Yishang's cultivation continued until the end of the second round. They did not encounter the other team from the celestial realm. In the end, the God realm was ranked 977 and successfully advanced to the finals. With the help of the God realm, the Sky's Shadow territory was ranked third in the second round and received a lot of rewards. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this result. As for the other territories, they all entered the top 100 as he said. Blue Heart was the only one left. When she counted the nameplates, she purposely gave up a few. In the end, she was ranked 257th. She felt that this result was enough to ensure her position in the territory. Therefore, she did not choose to enter the top 100 in a high-profile manner. Night Sorrow, who wanted to be rewarded, did not argue with her about this matter. After receiving the rewards, Night Sorrow and the other people of the God Realm returned to the God Realm in a good mood. After the second round of Providence, the providence of the God Realm had become much richer. The providence of the God Realm has increased. It should be because everyone has obtained a good ranking, right? The moment everyone came out of the teleportation array, the Golden Crow, who had not left the city gate for many years, immediately rushed over. Grandson greets grandfather. When Jin Xian saw the golden crow, he knelt on the ground and called out, "Grandfather, we have successfully advanced to the final round of the Battle of Providence. We are ranked in the 900s and deliberately hid our strength." Then, Jin Xian told the golden crow about Night Sorrow's actions. Hearing this, the golden crow looked at Night Sorrow with a smile and said, "Advance and retreat freely. Our God Realm territory is prosperous." However, after praising him, the golden crow reminded with a serious expression, "However, in the final battle for Providence, we will encounter the most powerful territories. We will definitely be targeted maliciously. Everyone must protect their own safety. You are the future of the God Realm territory. The territory can be destroyed, but you can't have any problems. Do you understand? Don't worry, Lord Supreme. Night Sorrow will not let the enemy laugh and his own people cry." Hearing the golden crow's words, Night Sorrow immediately replied with a frown. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human Mobile Version Reading Website, M. Chapter 2945. Hee hee. Night Sorrow. All of us Supremes are not worried about you. However, you must be careful in the finals. It's best if you use the next 20 years to improve your strength. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to enter the top 1,000. After saying this, the golden crow supremacy sighed. After all, we have too few sovereigns. Don't worry. Lord Supreme, we will think of a way to make up for the disadvantage in numbers. Let the realm of God stand at the top of the eternal supreme world again. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he looked at the people of the realm of gods and said, "Everyone, I'm going to return to the City Lord Mansion to cultivate. What about you?" "I'm going back to cultivate too," Myriad Sword Master said immediately. Although he could not break through any realm quickly, he could still absorb some laws and essence and study some new techniques. As for Xiao Tianxian and the others, as well as Jin Xian and the others, they all chose to cultivate in seclusion. Especially Murong Guiding Path, Jin Xian and the others, they were all looking forward to breaking through some realms in the next 20 years. Here are the rewards. You all can distribute them. Night Sorrow will take his leave first. We will gather again in 20 years. Night Sorrow said and left. After returning to the realm of gods, he immediately went to find Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. This time, the two finally came out of seclusion. And their strength had advanced to the level of an upper divine king. Standing in the sovereign base, Night Sorrow saw Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei and asked in surprise, "How did you break through 2 realms consecutively?" When Night Sorrow participated in the battle for Providence, the two were only lower divine kings. Now, they were upper divine kings. This kind of breakthrough speed was almost catching up with Night Sorrow, who had absorbed a lot of laws and essence. The speed was not just fast, it was heaven-defying. I relied on the power of the bloodline to cultivate. I didn't absorb too many resources. As for Sister Fei, I don't know. Jing Yun said truthfully. After she received the inheritance of the ancestral phoenix, her cultivation speed increased a lot. Naturally, she could improve her strength quickly. This change had occurred ever since he had arrived in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Wu Lingfei also nodded and said, "I think so too. And according to my estimation, I should be able to break through to the Divine King level very soon. Then I'll provide you with some resources. Try and see if you can break through to the Divine King level within 20 years. If you can break through and become strong enough, I'll take you to the next battle for Providence." Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei's bloodline talent was very high, and it was very likely that they had the ability to fight across realms. At present, there were simply too few juggernauts in the divine world. Night Sorrow felt that if the two of them could advance to the upper Divine King level, they might be able to join the others in battle. Although there were dangers, there were also fortuitous encounters. Good. Sister Fei will work hard. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. The way she addressed her as Sister Fei was obviously very natural. Night Sorrow was a little embarrassed, but he did not show it. He said, "Then Sister Fei, you and Jing Yun should work hard together. I'm going back to cultivate in seclusion." Good. Go, don't worry about us. The genius base also has space. Wu Lingfei said, then looked at Jing Yun and said, "Sister, let's go back and continue cultivating. I can feel that the laws and resources that Night Sorrow provided are at least enough for us to advance to the upper Divine King level. If that's the case, I'm confident that I can defeat ordinary juggernauts." I'm also confident that I can defeat juggernauts. Jing Yun nodded. As her cultivation progressed, she felt that her innate bloodline was also evolving, making her abnormally powerful. After saying this, Jing Yun looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Husband, how many years will the next battle for Providence be held?" "About 20 years later, but it's best to come out of seclusion a little earlier." Night Sorrow replied softly. If not for the fact that there were too few people in the divine world, he really did not want to let Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei take the risk. However, the current situation was that everyone was responsible for the rise and fall of the divine world. They could only do their best to nurture experts. "Okay, husband. We will come out in time. At that time, whether it works or not, we will know when we find a juggernaut to try." Jing Yun looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Husband, you have to take care of yourself. Don't worry too much about the pressure. Although the divine world territory is important, you are the most important. Don't worry, I will take care of myself. Next, I will return to the City Lord Mansion to cultivate. If you come out of seclusion, send me a message." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he left behind a voice transmission stone and returned to the City Lord Mansion alone. At this time, there were many Supremes in the City Lord Mansion, and their expressions were not too good. However, when they saw Night Sorrow return, they all asked expectantly and listened to Night Sorrow explain the matter. White Tiger Supremacy said with a smile, "Looks like some people attacking in the Supreme Space has something to do with our performance in the battle for Providence." "Supremacy, what happened?" Night Sorrow looked at White Tiger Supremacy in puzzlement. "It's like this. Recently, when we go to the Supreme Space, we often encounter obstructions. There's no way to go there normally." White Tiger Supremacy looked at Night Sorrow and sighed. "If we can't go to the Supreme Space, we can't find resources for you. We support the battle for Providence." Sigh. The second round of the battle for Providence has just ended and they have already made a move. Or have they already noticed us when the first round ended? Hearing White Tiger Supremacy's words, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that the impact of the second round should not have come yet. At this time, Ancestral Phoenix said, "It should be in the first round that some territories couldn't hold back and started to deal with us." As for the second round, there was also some impact. A few decades after the second round began, the Supremes of other territories began to go crazy. Like crazy demons, they targeted our divine world territory, making it impossible for us to enter the Supreme Space. Speaking of this, Ancestral Phoenix sighed and said, "I'm not sure how the two deputy city lords are doing now. Don't worry, Supremes. We have confidence in the battle for Providence. In terms of resources, you can also rest assured. We will solve this problem ourselves." Night Sorrow still needs to improve his strength, so he will go into seclusion. Pay attention to your own safety. If you can't go to the Supreme Space, then don't go for the time being. Night Sorrow felt that as long as the Supremes didn't go to the Supreme Space, there shouldn't be any danger for the time being, so he began to cultivate. He knew that being angry was useless. Only by increasing his strength as soon as possible could he solve the humiliation in front of him. The Divine World territory was being targeted, and they couldn't even go to the Supreme Space. This was definitely a great humiliation. Knight Sorrow was prepared to completely explode in the battle for Providence and win back this face for the Divine World. Clan M. Chapter 2946. After being bullied to this extent, if they didn't explode, the people of the Divine World would never be able to go to the public area or the Supreme Space. If they wanted to explode, they had to quickly become stronger. Becoming stronger required time. Therefore, they had to obtain a good ranking in the battle for Providence. They had to improve the providence of the Divine World to support the existence of the Divine World for a longer period of time. After entering the triple time acceleration, Knight Sorrow immediately began to absorb the Invincible Sovereign's laws and essence. In fact, after absorbing so many Sovereign's laws and essence, Knight Sorrow already understood that he was already saturated with these things. Now was the process of a qualitative change. He would use the Invincible Sovereign's laws and essence to replace all that he had absorbed before. Then, he would break through to the Sovereign Realm. In about 20 years, Knight Sorrow had completed all of this. At this moment, he discovered a problem. If he wanted to break through to the Sovereign Realm, he needed to absorb the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence. If he only used the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence to break through to the Sovereign Realm, the overall increase in strength wouldn't be as great as expected. Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence, how do I obtain these things? Knight Sorrow completely raised his strength to the peak of the Divine King's level and left the cultivation room. He needed the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence. He wanted to ask the Supremes how to obtain these things. When Knight Sorrow came out of seclusion, the Supremes were still in the City Lord Manor. After all, they couldn't go to the Supreme Space, so they could only discuss countermeasures here. Knight Sorrow, you're out of seclusion. It seems that your strength has improved quite well. I can clearly feel the changes in you. Seeing Knight Sorrow arrive, Supreme Phoenix sized him up and said with a smile. My strength has improved, but I also encountered a bottleneck, Knight Sorrow said. Hearing this, Supreme Black Tortoise immediately asked, Oh. What bottleneck did you encounter? If we can solve it, we will definitely help you. Replying to Supreme Black Tortoise, Knight Sorrow encountered a bottleneck because he lacked the Supreme Sovereign's laws and essence. If Knight Sorrow wants to break through to the sovereign level, he can do it now. However, without the supreme laws and essence, his strength will be greatly affected. Knight Sorrow said, then explained, if I make use of the Autarka's laws and essence to break through, Knight Sorrow is confident that once I become a ruler, I'll be able to fight against many rulers. He might even be able to sweep through the sovereigns. However, using the Sovereign's law and Sovereign's essence to break through will also increase my strength, but the increase will definitely be limited. Haha. So it's about this matter. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Black Tortoise Prime smiled and handed over a spatial bag. We've already predicted that you'll encounter a bottleneck. We've even prepared the Sovereign's laws and essence. Take it and use it. The future of the heavenly realm depends on you. He had already prepared the Supreme Being's law and essence. Where did these come from? Hearing Black Tortoise Prime's words, Knight Sorrow was clearly surprised. The 9 Heaven Supremes fell silent after hearing Knight Sorrow's question. The smiles on their faces all turned into helplessness. What's wrong with everyone? Knight Sorrow asked with a trembling voice. He realized that things were not simple. Sigh. Everyone was silent for a long time before Supreme Ancestor Phoenix replied, These are the complete laws and essence left behind by the Horn Race's Supreme Ancestor. He predicted that you would use them one day. At this point, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix's expression was very ugly, and he could not continue speaking. What? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow's head buzzed. Only now did he understand why the Horn race's supreme ancestor would suddenly display the ancient scene for everyone. An important reason was that he wanted to leave his laws and essence to himself. Knight Sorrow. Supreme Ancestor Horn wants you to carry his wish and restore the glory of our God realm. Do you understand? If you do, don't reject his good intentions. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix's relationship with the Horn race was especially good. Supreme Ancestor Dragon immediately walked forward and patted Knight Sorrow's shoulder. Knight Sorrow knows. Knight Sorrow will carry the Horn race's supreme ancestor's wish and stand at the highest point of the eternal supreme world. Otherwise, Knight Sorrow will fall forever. A man does not cry easily because he has not been sad. Although Knight Sorrow had been controlling himself, tears still flowed from the corners of his eyes. He swore with a trembling voice. Knight Sorrow, you are already very close to the finals of the battle for Providence. Hurry up and cultivate. If the supreme laws and essence are not enough, we still have a way. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix, who had been silent for a while, suddenly looked at Knight Sorrow and said, Enough. No matter what, Knight Sorrow will break through to the ruler realm soon. Hearing Supreme Ancestor Phoenix's words, Knight Sorrow immediately understood what he meant. If the laws and essence left behind by the Horn race's supreme ancestor were not enough, then the other supremes were also willing to sacrifice themselves. How could he bear to see the supremes die for him one by one? To die for the God realm. All right. All of us old people will protect you. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask us. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix added and told Knight Sorrow to hurry up and cultivate. At this moment, Silver Spear Paragon Yang Tiancheng walked in front of Knight Sorrow and said, Knight Sorrow. There's something I want to say. Supreme Ancestor, please speak. Knight Sorrow was still very respectful to Yang Tiancheng, who had guided him in his spear technique. At this moment, Yang Tiancheng nodded and said, If you want to reach the strongest spear technique, you still need to comprehend it yourself. Comprehend a new spear technique. Like me, learning the clan spear technique can make you very strong, but in the end, you can't become the strongest. I hope that when you advance to the ruler realm, you can forget everything that others have taught you. Or, on the basis of it, you can comprehend the most suitable ultimate technique for yourself. Knight Sorrow will remember Supreme Ancestor's words. Although Yang Tiancheng's words were simple, Knight Sorrow knew that it wasn't easy to do. However, he wanted to lead the God realm to counterattack, so he immediately made up his mind. Go! All of us have high hopes for you. Moreover, at the critical moment, all of us can sacrifice ourselves for you. Yang Tiancheng said and waved his hand, letting Knight Sorrow go to cultivate. After Knight Sorrow left, Yang Tiancheng said, This time, Knight Sorrow is determined to fight for a good ranking for the God realm. We should also do something. What do you mean? Supreme Ancestor Phoenix immediately asked. He knew that Yang Tiancheng definitely had a hidden meaning in his words. What I mean is that we should gather everyone's strength and completely advance Knight Sorrow's divine weapon to a supreme artifact. Although those who participate in the battle for Providence are not the top rulers, only those who have cultivated for less than 3 epochs. Those powerful territories will definitely put in a lot of effort to fight for first place. Using a supreme artifact will definitely be a must. Yang Tiancheng said and then sighed. This is all we can do. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2947. Sigh. That's right. That's all we can do. If the 2 deputy city lords were still here, the situation would definitely be better. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said helplessly. The current situation of the divine realm was so bad, and there was no one. If the two deputy city lords were here, they would definitely be of greater help to Night Sorrow. Then, young Tiancheng appeared and took the golden heavenly halberd before Night Sorrow started cultivating. Many Supremes could be said to have used the power of the divine realm to forge a supreme divine weapon for Night Sorrow. If it was in the past, Supreme Heavenly Treasure would not have the ability to forge a supreme divine weapon. But recently, he had forged more than 10 half-step supreme divine weapons in a row, and his refining realm had obviously improved. He already had the possibility of forging a supreme divine weapon. If not for Night Sorrow finding a large number of supreme materials, I'm afraid even if everyone gathered these materials, I wouldn't be able to forge a supreme divine weapon. But now, there's a certain amount of hope. Supreme Heavenly Treasure looked at the 5 sets of materials in front of him and said with emotion. Then, he continued, but if I really can't forge a supreme divine weapon, please forgive me. Supreme Heavenly Treasure, don't worry about it. It's the fortune of the divine realm to have you. The other Supremes naturally wouldn't say anything. The resources of the divine realm were obviously insufficient, which also caused Supreme Heavenly Treasure to not have many opportunities to practice. Now that he had to find someone, he could only brace himself. Then, under the attention of the other Supremes, Supreme Heavenly Treasure began to forge a supreme divine weapon. Night Sorrow, on the other hand, took out the laws and essence of the Horn Clan Supreme. He floated in the air. He knelt down and said, Supreme Lord of the Horn Clan, Night Sorrow will not let your sacrifice be in vain. I will definitely lead the divine realm to restore its former glory. I believe you can do it. But with my ability, I can't calculate how far you can go. I can only help you so much. Suddenly, the phantom of the Horn Clan Supreme appeared and floated in the air. He looked at Night Sorrow and smiled. His smile was very kind, and he looked like an ordinary elder. Lord Supreme. Seeing the Horn Clan Supreme being appear, Night Sorrow immediately shouted. He wanted to say something, but he choked on his words. Even the Divine King, Juggernaut, or Supreme Being would sometimes lose control of their emotions. Night Sorrow was one such example. There's no need for that. Cultivate in peace and don't disappoint everyone's expectations. The Supreme Being of the Horn Clan said with a smile. Then, he continued, it's about time. I'm also going to reincarnate. If fate allows it, we'll meet again. I look forward to that day. If we meet, I'll be able to recognize you immediately. Night Sorrow said, and then struck the Horn Clan Supreme Being, carving a mark on the back of his divine soul's hand. Good. I'm going now. You cultivate well, said the Horn Clan Supreme Being before he completely disappeared into the void. Take care. Night Sorrow only fought in this life and didn't study reincarnation. He didn't know where the Supreme Master of the Horn Clan would reincarnate. Thus, he didn't think too much about it. He controlled his fluctuating mind and began to cultivate. After all, he didn't have much time left. I didn't expect that the trace of Supreme Being law that I comprehended from those Supreme Being materials could serve as a medium, allowing me to absorb a large amount of Supreme Being laws and essence and successfully decipher them. After absorbing these Supreme Being laws and essence, Night Sorrow immediately realized that the Supreme Being laws he comprehended in the ancient coffin played a crucial role. However, as time passed, Night Sorrow realized that he didn't have much time. It wasn't until 1 year before the final of the Battle of Providence that he absorbed the general rules and essence. If he chose to advance at this time, Night Sorrow had the ability to break through to the Juggernaut realm. However, he felt that his foundation wouldn't be enough, so he didn't break through immediately. Instead, he left the cultivation room. Night Sorrow, you're finally done cultivating. Look, what's this? Supreme Heavenly Treasure, who had been waiting for Night Sorrow, immediately threw the golden heavenly halberd at him after Night Sorrow appeared. Supreme Artifact. I've really mastered it. Looking at the golden heavenly halberd, that supreme heavenly treasure throughout, Night Sorrow's pupils immediately contracted. There was a huge difference between a true supreme artifact and a half-step supreme artifact. The difference in aura was simply incomparable. After receiving the golden heavenly halberd, Night Sorrow felt an extremely wild power. That kind of spirit that could tear heaven and earth apart wasn't something a juggernaut could possess. Is this the sovereign's heart? Night Sorrow, who was holding the golden heavenly halberd, immediately had an epiphany. At this moment, the golden heavenly halberd in his hands suddenly struggled. Although it didn't have an artifact spirit, its pride as a supreme artifact made it reject being used by the Divine King. Do you think I'm not worthy of using you? Feeling the golden heavenly halberd struggle, Night Sorrow immediately controlled the golden heavenly halberd and displayed his spear techniques in front of all the Supremes. His spear techniques were all displayed casually and weren't restricted by any spear techniques. At the beginning, it seemed extremely disorderly. But as time passed, all the Supremes realized that it was different. Silver Spear Supremacy. Yang Tiancheng's eyes lit up as he said, "Good spear techniques." Gradually, the golden heavenly halberd was completely tamed. Good spear. Night Sorrow thanks all the Supremes. I won't say any polite words. Night Sorrow will speak with results. Night Sorrow kept the golden heavenly halberd and cupped his fists at the Supremes. At this moment, Zhu Feng said, "The others are already waiting for you in Ping'an City. Go quickly. This time, there are also 2 of your female companions." What? Jing Yun and Sister Fei also went to Ping'an City. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately bid farewell to all the Supremes and stepped on the road to Ping'an City. After arriving at Ping'an City, Night Sorrow indeed saw Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. However, Jing Yun didn't look too good at this moment. Night Sorrow hurriedly asked, "Jing Yun, what's wrong?" "Husband. Yun has already passed the age to participate in the battle for Providence. This time, I can't accompany all of you." When Jing Yun heard Night Sorrow's words, she immediately cried out unwillingly. Wu Lingfei's age was within the suitable range, but she was already of the age, which made Jing Yun very sad. "Don't be sad. Cultivate well in Ping'an City and wait for us to return." Night Sorrow gently stroked Jing Yun's hair and comforted her. Jing Yun's cultivation process was full of twists and turns, and she had gone through a reincarnation cycle. There were many age restrictions for participating in the battle for Providence. "Okay. I got it. Then you have to take good care of Sister Fei," Jing Yun called out awkwardly. She was much older than Wu Lingfei. However, she was used to calling her Aunt Fei. Now, she could only call her sister and not sister. "Don't worry. I will take good care of everyone here and achieve good results for the realm of the gods." Night Sorrow looked at Jing Yun with a smile and said goodbye to her. Then, he looked at the others and said, "It's about time. Let's go." Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2948. My husband, take care. Sister Fei, take care. Everyone, take care. Jing Yun said with tears in her eyes when she saw everyone standing on the teleportation portal. She was very upset that she could not participate in the final round of the Battle of Providence. "Don't worry about us. Cultivate well. Strive to break through to the Dominator level as soon as possible. As long as I can return safely, I will bring you a lot of resources." Wu Lingfei stood on the teleportation portal and looked into Jing Yun's eyes as she spoke. After coming to the Eternal Supreme World, the 2 of them had been relying on each other. Now, they were like sisters. "Take care of yourselves," Jing Yun said again and turned to leave. Night Sorrow and the others activated the teleportation portal and headed to the competition venue. I'm not sure if it will be the same as the last time. Everyone, prepare for battle. Before activating the portal, Night Sorrow did not forget to remind them. Don't worry. We are all ready. Everyone smiled in response. Only Wu Lingfei seemed to be at a loss. At this time, Night Sorrow comforted her. Sister Fei, don't worry. We will not be separated when we teleport. Okay. I got it. As Wu Lingfei responded, the teleportation portal was completely activated. A dazzling golden pillar of light immediately sucked the 10 people on the teleportation portal into it. It seems different this time. Soon, everyone landed on the ground. After landing on the ground, Murong Zijin looked at the surroundings and said. Around them were all teams from other territories. These teams had more people than the Heavenly Realm. The strongest territory had hundreds of top dominators and could easily destroy the current Heavenly Realm territory. Looks like the final round is not going to be easy. Night Sorrow could not help but sigh as he scanned the other teams present. However, at this time, Master Wan Jian laughed and said, there are also teams with fewer people. Look, isn't Blue Heart participating on her own? Haha, that's true. There must be many teams like her. Yuan Fengshua smiled and greeted Blue Heart, who was in front of him. At this time, Lan Xayan was very relaxed because she, who participated in the final round, had no pressure at all. Hi. Hello, everyone. Your strength has increased by quite a bit. Blue Heart said with a smile after sizing up the people from the God world. In the God realm, apart from the 2 divine kings, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei, the weakest Gold Xian was already an intermediate dominator. It was clear that their strength had increased. Among them, Murong Zhenlu, Shui Changtian, and Yang Qing had improved the most. Yuan Fengshua, Nie Zhonglin, and Jin Xian were intermediate sovereigns. The 10,000 Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian had both reached the peak of the ruler realm with the help of many 9 heaven supremes. In other words, they were half supreme. Compared to when they participated in the second round, their strength had increased by a lot. This improvement was mainly due to the resources they had obtained in the second round of the competition. Looking at everyone, Blue Heart felt quite envious. However, thinking about her position in the Azure territory, she felt quite satisfied and relieved. Fairy Blue Heart, your strength has also increased. It seems that you've been valued greatly after returning. Yuan Fengshua smiled when he saw the envy on Lan Xayan's face. Haha. This is all thanks to everyone's help. Blue Heart said with a smile. Then, she looked at everyone and said, this time, the Azure territory does not have any expectations of results. I will treat myself as someone from the God realm and help you fight. Haha, thank you very much. Night Sorrow said politely. At this moment, Blue Heart suddenly turned her attention to Wu Lingfei and asked, is this a newcomer? I believe that to be able to participate in the finals, you must be like Night Sorrow and have the ability to fight above your level, right? Me. I've never tried to fight a dominator before. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. She was not used to Blue Heart's friendliness. In fact, she was confident that she could fight against a normal dominator. At this moment, Blue Heart wanted to say something. However, a mocking voice suddenly interrupted her. A burly cultivator with a cold face suddenly said, isn't this the Azure territory's dominator Blue Heart? It's you. After seeing who it was, Blue Heart's originally smiling face was suddenly filled with a strong killing intent. This person was the Celestial Territory's vice captain, Yuan Henji. At that time, Blue Heart's clone had been killed by him. It was because of her clone that she had been able to survive. It's me. I didn't think that you would still be alive and enter the finals. What, did you enter the finals by riding on the coattails of these trash? Oh, right. I understand now. You guys are riding on the coattails of the celestial shadow territory. Yuan Henji looked at Blue Heart with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "You're the one who killed Ji Yun, right? I really have to thank you." At this point, his tone changed and he said, "However, although he's a dog, if you dare to kill someone from the celestial territory, there's only one outcome. Wait for death." Night Sorrow's body had the mark left behind by Ji Feng and Ji Yun's father. Everyone in the celestial territory could sense it and would naturally be recognized if they met. However, Tian Qing did not know that not only did Night Sorrow kill Ji Yun, but he also killed Ji Feng in the competition. "Did you also participate in the second round of the battle for Providence?" Night Sorrow did not get angry. Instead, he looked at Tian Qing and asked, "Although my celestial territory lost Ji Feng and the others, we still won 6th place in the second round of the battle for Providence. Trash like you, just wait for your death. Remember, my name is Tian Qing." Tian Qing arrogantly said, then disdainfully turned around and left. Looking at Tian Qing's back, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "You should be glad that we didn't meet in the second round." "Oh. You're quite confident, aren't you? You're in the 900s, and you want to challenge the 6th place." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tian Qing immediately turned around and looked at Night Sorrow with interest. He made a throat-slitting gesture. He did not put the celestial realm in his eyes at all. Regarding this, everyone in the celestial realm showed disdain. This Tian Qing in front of them was obviously not very strong. He was probably not a match for the Myriad Sword sect and Xiao Tianxian. Seeing that the people in the celestial realm did not put Tian Qing in their eyes at all, Blue Heart immediately reminded, "This Tian Qing's strength is indeed not very strong, but there's a very strong genius in the celestial territory. Sky Sword. Although he's as famous as Ji Feng, I heard that his true strength is much stronger than Ji Feng's. You have the mark of the celestial territory on you, so you must pay attention." Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2949. Sky Sword. Since he dares to name himself after a sword, his talent must be pretty good. I'm interested in fighting him. After Blue Heart finished speaking, Master Wan Jian's body emitted a faint battle intent. At this moment, they were in a public area, so it was impossible for them to directly release their killing intent. That would very likely offend some territories. According to what I've heard, you shouldn't be a match for Sky Sword. Even the current Night Sorrow might not be a match for him. Blue Heart said with a solemn expression. At this moment, Yuan Fengshua asked curiously, "Blue Heart, where can we see the results of the second round and the final results of the previous competition?" Since Tian Qing could accurately state the results of our realm of the gods, he must have seen it. Oh, there's a square in front. The final results of the previous Battle of Providence are there. And the results of the first and second rounds of this competition. Blue Heart pointed at the square in the distance and said, "Anyway, there's still some time before the finals begin. We can go take a look and have a certain understanding of the finals." "All right. Let's go." Yuan Fengshu glanced at Blue Heart and said. As for the people of the realm of the gods, they naturally wouldn't let the two female cultivators go to the square alone to watch the fun, so they followed one after another. What a grand venue! At this moment, Wu Lingfei, who looked at the surroundings, exclaimed in admiration. Looking around, the heaven and earth here were obviously higher and wider than the realm of the gods. Some of the buildings looked extremely grand, as if they were built for ancient times. In comparison, many of the cultivators participating in the competition looked as small as ants. The 6 stone pillars in the square were so tall that they seemed to reach the sky. When the crowd got closer, they immediately saw that these 6 towering stone pillars recorded the results of the 3 rounds of the previous tournament. And the results of the first and second rounds of this Battle of Providence. The empty one was waiting for the crowd to write. So, in the second round of the Battle of Providence, the first place was the Silverhorn territory. Have any of you encountered them before? Seeing that the Silverhorn territory was first place in the second round of the Battle of Providence, Yuan Fingxue asked curiously. I did come into contact with a young girl from the Silverhorn territory. Her ability is a little special. It can hide in the sky, and no one can find it. Everyone did not have any impression of the Silverhorn territory. At this moment, Knight Sorrow recounted his encounter with the Silverhorned lady in the Forbidden Zone. This skill of theirs is really special. If they don't meet their nemesis, they will be invincible. After hearing Knight Sorrow's description, Xiao Tianxian frowned and said, since the other party had invaded the Divine Realm's Forbidden Zone, they were enemies. He was already thinking about how to deal with them. If we encounter them again, I have a way to deal with them. Don't worry. Seeing Xiao Tianxian frowning, Knight Sorrow reassured him. After their last encounter, he had been thinking about how to deal with such an enemy. After careful consideration, he felt that the secret technique of the Horn clan should be effective. It's good that we have a way to deal with it. Xiao Tianxian nodded and pointed at the final result of the last Battle of Providence. He said, I hope we can get a higher ranking this time and try our best to get a higher ranking. I will. I definitely will. Looking at the names on the final result list, Knight Sorrow muttered. The rest of the Divine Realm's people also had solemn expressions. They knew how important their mission was. That was to at least enter the top 1,000. Otherwise, the Divine Realm's territory would be destroyed directly. Hee, you will. What will you do? Get a good result. You're just a bunch of shrimps. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. A male cultivator in a Daoist robe slowly walked in front of Knight Sorrow and the rest. He said, I didn't expect that your Divine Realm's territory would be lucky enough to enter the finals of the Battle of Providence after so many years of decline. However, with trash like you, you'll be courting death if you enter. Who are you? After this male cultivator spoke, he immediately released an extremely powerful Divine Realm. It suppressed the Divine Realm's people so much that they could not speak. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow released his Divine Realm to resist for a while and asked for the other party's name. Divine King, you have some ability to speak in front of me. How about this? If you swear to withdraw from the Divine Realm's territory and be loyal to me, Dao Tianming, and the Dao world, I'll forgive your disrespect. After Yi Shang spoke, Dao Tianming looked at him with a playful expression. Then he put on a fake smile and spoke. What? The Dao world. You're actually Dao Tianming from the Dao world. Upon hearing this name, the Divine Realm's people did not say anything, but Lan Xayan immediately exclaimed. The Dao world. It was an existence ranked in the top 20 in the Eternal Supreme World. In the previous Battle of Providence, the Dao world had entered the top 15 and ranked 14th on the overall list. This kind of result was an existence that ordinary territories could only look up to. You're quite knowledgeable. However, it's not interesting. Dao Tianming glanced at Lan Xayan and said this. However, he was clearly not interested. He still looked at Knight Sorrow and said, have you considered it? I, Dao Tianming, don't have that much patience. In fact, Knight Sorrow's strength and talent did not matter to Dao Tianming at all. He just wanted to take in a slave from the Divine Realm's territory and show off to other territories that were ranked at the top. Ha ha ha. What's the point of being a slave of the Dao world? Divine King of the Divine Realm's territory, I'll give you a chance to be my slave. I have a very high status in the Heavenly Lord's territory. Before Night Sorrow could speak, a thin cultivator with an extremely shocking aura walked over slowly. His footsteps were very slow, but every step he took was in accordance with the Tao runes and could cross space. Han Songzi from the Heavenly Lord's territory. Why? Do you want to snatch my slave? Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you ranked 9th in the previous Battle of Providence. Dao Tianming shouted unhappily when he saw Han Songzi walk over. He did not show any fear in the face of Han Songzi, who ranked 9th. Obviously, the difference between these territories was not very big. I don't care if you're afraid or not. Anyway, this slave in front of me has to follow me. Han Songzi observed Night Sorrow with interest and said, yes, not bad. I like this slave of yours very much. Scoundrel. Who are you calling a slave? Before Night Sorrow could speak, the myriad sword sect beside him shouted unhappily. The territories that were ranked at the top were indeed very strong and could suppress others until they could not breathe. However, they were really too pretentious. No one in the divine realm could accept the humiliation that Night Sorrow had suffered. At that moment, besides Night Sorrow, who was still calm, everyone else had a strong killing intent between their eyebrows. Chapter 2950. Trash like you, who gave you the right to speak? Do you want to die? After being yelled at by the 10,000 sword sect, Han Songzi was immediately enraged. He raised his hand and prepared to strike. However, after thinking about it, he retracted his hand. Hee, interesting. How interesting. Dao Tianming, Han Songzi, what kind of servant is he that you two are fighting over? At this moment, a playful voice suddenly rang out. An ethereal figure suddenly descended from the sky. It was an extremely beautiful lady. Her dress looked like moonlight, and she had a very cold and ethereal aura. Fairy Yuan, do you want to have a share of the loot too? Dao Tianming, who did not take Han Songzi seriously, unconsciously became cautious when he saw the person who had come. This was because this Fairy Yuan came from the Moon Shadow Estate, which was ranked 5th in the previous competition. Furthermore, she was the strongest person in the Moon Shadow Estate. As for Han Songzi and Dao Tianming, they were not the strongest in their respective estates. Seeing Fairy Yuan's arrival, Han Songzi instantly became even more cautious. He said respectfully, Fairy Yuan, this is a servant from the realm of gods. I'm not interested in him, but the realm of gods has not entered the final competition for many years, which piqued my curiosity. I see. After Han Songzi finished speaking, Fairy Yuan sized up Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow was neither sad nor happy. It was as if everyone's topic had nothing to do with him. This made Fairy Yuan curious. After observing for a while, she said coldly, with the Divine King's realm and the combat strength of a sovereign, your talent will be buried if you stay in the realm of gods. How about this, leave the realm of gods and join the Moon Shadow Estate. I, Yuan, will guarantee that you will advance to the peak of a sovereign within one cycle. You're called Fairy Yuan. What's your ranking in the final competition? Night Sorrow did not directly answer the question. Instead, he asked a question. I, Fairy Yuan, come from the 5th-ranked Moon Shadow Estate. My personal strength is within the top 10 of this competition. Fairy Yuan said proudly. In fact, she was already being modest when she said that she was in the top 10. However, she felt that this kind of ranking and strength was enough for Night Sorrow, a cultivator from the god realm, to look up to. Seeing Night Sorrow ask about Fairy Yuan's background, Han Songzi and Dao Tianming instantly felt that they had no chance. Whether it was the strength of their territories or their individual strength, they were far inferior to Fairy Yuan. There was no competition. But right at this moment, something that surprised them happened. Night Sorrow, who had always been very calm, suddenly released a shocking killing intent. He looked at Yu Yen and said, "All right. I'll remember you. See you in the finals. See you in the finals." Are you trying to make me your enemy? When Fairy Yu Yen heard Night Sorrow's words, a terrifying chill immediately rose on her originally cold face. She never thought that Night Sorrow would dare to say such things to her in public. He's an enemy to begin with, so there's no need to hide it. Night Sorrow looked at Yu Yen without backing down and continued, "Also, the people of the God Realm can be killed but not humiliated. The next time we meet, you and I will fight to the death." After Yu Yen finished speaking, Night Sorrow looked at Han Songzi and Dao Tianming respectively and said coldly, "The same goes for the two of you." Ha ha ha. What a joke, what a joke. A piece of trash like you wants to challenge us. Are you people on the same level? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Dao Tianming laughed loudly before Yu Yen could say anything, as if he had heard an extremely funny joke. In terms of individual strength, Fairy Yu Yen was definitely in the top 10 of this finals, while Han Songzi and Dao Tianming should be in the top 100, or even the top 50. Dao Tianming felt that Night Sorrow was completely ignorant of life and death when he said that they would fight to the death. As the Divine King, he had no right to say such words. Whether we're on the same level or not, we'll know after we meet. If I'm not wrong, you can't casually attack here. Otherwise, Han Songzi would have attacked the sword sect long ago. Since that's the case, we'll take our leave. Night Sorrow, who had already turned around, looked back at Dao Tianming and said these words. Then, he led the other people from the realm of gods and left the square. They found a secluded corner and waited patiently for the battle to begin. When there was no one around, Blue Heart reminded him with a serious expression, "Night Sorrow. The top-ranked territories in the finals are completely different from those in the second round. They're really incomparably powerful. You offended 3 of them just now. I'm afraid you'll be targeted in the competition." We stood in the square and didn't say anything. Didn't we also get targeted? Night Sorrow glanced at Blue Heart and said, "If you don't want to get hurt, you'll never rely on a good attitude. It's your own fist." This had always been his principle, and it was also the law of survival of the fittest in the cultivation world. But, Blue Heart wanted to say something, but she felt that Night Sorrow was overestimating himself and couldn't persuade him. In the end, she didn't say anything and quietly left the area where the realm of gods was located. She didn't want to be associated with Night Sorrow and the others anymore. "Brother Yi, we all support you. No matter how strong the opponents are, we won't yield." After Blue Heart left, Wan Jianzong immediately said, "Even if we die in battle, we won't bend our backs." Although he had unlimited confidence in Night Sorrow, Wan Jianzong didn't dare to imagine that the realm of gods could defeat the Moon Shadow territory and enter the top 5 in the finals. "Yeah. Brother Yi, all of us support you. We'll advance and retreat together with you." Yuan Fengshues said and then apologized, "It's all my fault. If I didn't insist on going to the square, we wouldn't have met with such trouble. It's fine. Whether or not we're willing to face them, the top-ranked territories are also our mortal enemies. Don't forget what happened back then." Night Sorrow said. Then, he said firmly, "The opponents we met just now are indeed very strong. They're much stronger than us. But in the end, the ranking of our realm of gods might not be lower than theirs. After all, there's always a chance in any competition. Otherwise, there's no need for us to participate in the finals. We'll just be ranked directly." Yes. Night Sorrow is right. We mustn't let this affect our mood and confidence. At this time, Xiao Tianxian also comforted them. The realm of gods was not as strong as the 3 territories they had just defended. This was an indisputable fact. But the final result needed to be written in the process. Who could say for sure who would win and who would lose? Clang! 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 At this moment, 3 loud bell tolls suddenly sounded in the arena where everyone was waiting. Then, a huge battleship suddenly appeared in the sky. On the deck of the battleship stood 108 supreme martial artists. After these people appeared, the people below immediately stopped talking. Everyone knew that the finals of the battle for Providence were about to begin. Clan M. Chapter 2951. Silence. After the appearance of these 108 supreme martial artists, the scene became absolutely silent. However, there was still a Supremes on the patrolling warship who ordered everyone to be quiet. After he spoke, the waiting cultivators became even quieter. Even their breathing was controlled. Some people even held their breaths and looked up in the direction of the warship. Some people who were originally floating in the air all landed on the ground and looked up respectfully. Everyone knew that the 108 Supremes on the warship came from the 108 strongest territories. When everyone was completely silent, they looked at the warship respectfully. Supreme Yuling, who had just finished ordering everyone to be quiet, said, "Today is the final round of the Battle of Providence. According to past practice, we will invite a Supremes from the 4 great sacred lands to be the host of this final round." Supreme Yuling from the Moon's Shadow Estate said solemnly, "Let us invite the Supremes from the 9 Mystical Estate, Feng Wuji." The 9 Mystical Estate is one of the 4 great sacred lands in the Eternal Supreme World. Senior Feng Wuji has also broken through the shackles of the Supremes and successfully advanced to the Earth Supreme level. Let us welcome Senior Feng Wuji with the warmest cheers. Boom! An Earth Supreme is hosting the final round. Senior Feng Wuji is one of the few experts who have broken through to the Earth Supreme level. It's really worth the trip to see him. After Supreme Yuling finished speaking, many people cheered. The 4 great sacred lands, the 9 Mystical Estate, the Sky Owl Estate, the Immortal Extinction Estate, and the Life Extension Estate, were all existences that the other territories looked up to. The positions of the top 10 territories were constantly changing, but the 4 great sacred lands had not changed for countless years. "Hello, I am Feng Wuji from the 9 Mystical Estate." Amidst the cheers, a figure silently appeared on the warship. He walked to the front of the deck, stood on the dragon-shaped mast, and introduced himself softly. Although his voice was soft, it was as if he was speaking beside everyone's ears. Even Night Sorrow and the others who were standing at the outermost circle felt that he was talking to them. It was a special feeling. Limitless Earth Sovereign. Limitless Earth Sovereign. Limitless Earth Sovereign. After Feng Wuji appeared, many people immediately cheered. Most of the cultivators were seeing an Earth Sovereign for the first time. Knowing that he was a true master of the Eternal Supreme World, he was very excited. On Feng Wuji's body, there was not a trace of divine power fluctuation, nor did he release any divine domain. However, he could clearly sense his strength. His understanding of power seemed to be different from all the other cultivators present. Although they were called Earth Sovereigns, there was a huge difference between sovereigns and sovereigns. They gave people a feeling that they had returned to their original state. Silence. Let's listen to Lord Earth Sovereign explain the rules of the finals. At this moment, the scene was a little noisy. Feng Wuji did not say anything, and Supreme Yuling immediately cleared the place. After the crowd quieted down again, Feng Wuji said, "First of all, congratulations to everyone for entering the finals. Out of all the teams that made it to the finals, the one that surprised me the most was the Realm of the Gods. Welcome back to this stage." When he spoke up to this point, Feng Wuji shot his gaze towards Yi Shang and the others. Under his seemingly gentle gaze, everyone, including Night Sorrow, immediately felt like they had been seen through. They felt a chill in their hearts. They knew that the other party was not doing this out of kindness. He was trying to expose them to the public and make them the target of public criticism. "Thank you for your attention, Supremes. Although the other party was not expressing kindness, Night Sorrow still paid attention out of courtesy. At this moment, the cultivators of the realm of the gods instantly became lively. Especially those with the most outstanding strength. They looked at the realm of the gods with a playful gaze. Although they did not participate in the operation against the realm of the gods, they knew very well about the supreme longevity. Many of them secretly remembered the aura of the people from the realm of the gods. Under such circumstances, the people from the realm of the gods did not dare to be dissatisfied. This was because an earth sovereign was definitely much more powerful than a supreme. If they showed any disrespect, they would be killed immediately. Very good. Looks like another peerless genius has appeared in the realm of the gods. Feng Wuji glanced at Night Sorrow with a smile. Then, he sent a ray of light into Night Sorrow's body and said, "This is the Earth Sovereign's rules and essence that I'm giving to you. After absorbing it, you will soon break through to the ruler realm. If you make good use of it in the finals, you will have a bright future." After Feng Wuji said this, the expressions of the cultivators at the scene changed completely. Their gazes towards Night Sorrow instantly turned crazy. Including the rulers of the four great sacred grounds, no one was not interested in the rules and essence of the Earth Sovereign. Although they knew that the rules and essence that Feng Wuji had sent out was only a small part of it, everyone was still crazy about it. A man's wealth is his own ruin. This Feng Wuji, on the surface, seems to be helping me. In reality, he's obviously setting me up. What a vicious guy. You must have been one of the people who went against the supreme longevity. Is this how a so-called Earth Sovereign should behave? He's bullying a mere divine king. You're indeed not a good person. Night Sorrow's heart was as clear as a mirror when he sensed the rules and essence of the Earth Sovereign that Feng Wuji had sent out. He gave it a try, but it was impossible for him to absorb the rules and essence with his current cultivation. Feng Wuji was obviously toying with him, trying to lure the cultivators of the other territories to pick on him. There was anger in his heart, but Yi Shang forcefully suppressed it. He said with a smile, "Yi Shang thanks limitless earthly sovereign for his kind intentions. I'll try my best to protect the rules and essence of the Earth Sovereign." "All right. 10 talents. Feng Wuji said with a fake smile. He then shifted his gaze elsewhere and said, "Let's get to the main topic. The rules of the finals are as follows. The top 32 teams from the previous tournament will be the seeded teams in the 32 small worlds. There will be 100 teams in each small world to compete for the final ranking. The teams will enter the next round according to their ranking. The first team will enter the top 32 teams. The second team will enter the 33 to 64 teams, and so on." Feng Wuji paused for a moment before continuing. This round is the same as the second round of the tournament. Everyone will have an identity badge. This badge can be used to calculate the points and also to save your life. If you choose to save your life or be killed by the cultivators of the other territories, your points will all become your opponent's points. Now, let's start drawing lots. Apart from the top 32 territories, each territory will send a representative to draw lots on the battleship. Clan M. Chapter 2952. After Feng Wuji finished speaking, all the teams that had entered the finals of the Battle for Providence but were not in the top 32 of the previous competition sent out their representatives and flew toward the battleship. The representative sent by the Divine World was naturally Night Sorrow. In the process of flying toward the battleship, Night Sorrow was targeted and felt that it was very difficult to fly up. Because of the great pressure, he was the last to fly to the battleship. At that moment, the group drawing had actually ended. Feng Wuji sneered and let Night Sorrow be the last to participate in the drawing. After the last lot was drawn, he realized that it had the number 16 written on it. You're lucky to be in the 16th group. However, to the Divine World, the result is the same no matter where you draw. After Feng Wuji took the sign from Yishang's hand, he immediately sneered and said. Although he did not directly attack Night Sorrow, ever since he appeared, he had been making things difficult for Night Sorrow. Perhaps. Facing Feng Wuji, Night Sorrow indeed did not have the strength to contend against him, but he did not show weakness. He replied with a normal expression. I hope you will be like Supreme Longevity and not disappoint us. Feng Wuji glanced at Night Sorrow contemptuously and left directly. He was not interested in the subsequent announcement of the groups at all. After Feng Wuji left, the contestants of many territories also immediately returned to their battleships and returned to their own camps. Before long, Supreme Yuling created a huge 32 sparkling and translucent jade cards and suspended them in the void. Everyone looked at the jade cards and saw that the participating territories of the 32 groups were engraved on them. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Our group seed territory is the Dao World territory where Dao Tianming is. We have to be careful. After seeing the Dao World territory, the Myriad Sword sect immediately frowned and said. Obviously, Dao Tianming of the Dao World territory had the intention of targeting the Divine World territory. Now that they were in the same group, it went without saying. At that moment, Night Sorrow said with a smile, there are many places we need to be careful of. Look at the way the other territories look at us. While the 10,000 Swords sect was observing the Jade token, Night Sorrow was using the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe the other territories in all directions. He realized that the other territories that were assigned to the Heavenly Realm were all very excited, as if they had picked up a treasure. What they want is the earthly sovereign rules and essence in your body. Xiao Tianxian looked around and said, that so-called earthly sovereign is really despicable. His status is so high, yet he used such a despicable method on us. Actually, what he did was not bad. At the very least, it was an open scheme and not a conspiracy. We can think of a way to deal with it. Night Sorrow said and continued to look at the jade pendant. He realized that the saying enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road was indeed true. Besides the Dao World territory, there were also the Heaven Immortal territory and the Silverhorn territory in their group. It was unknown if it was a coincidence, or if someone had used some means to interfere with the grouping. After seeing the names of the Heaven Immortal territory and the Silverhorn territory, Night Sorrow said, after entering the small world, we'd better find a good position and set up a more powerful array. This way, if others want to deal with us, they will first enter the array. In that case, the rules and essence in my body are more like bait. Good. This is a good idea. The other territories are so jealous of you, so we'll teach them a thorough lesson. The 10,000 Swords sect said ruthlessly. Like the others in the Heavenly Realm territory, he was also holding his breath and wanted to bring back good results for the Heavenly Realm territory. At the very least, he wanted to be in the top 30 of the group. Who do you want to teach these pieces of trash a lesson? At that moment, Dao Tianming led some people from the Dao World territory over from afar. Upon hearing the 10,000 Swords sect's words, he immediately said disdainfully. What are you pretending for? If you have the ability, do it here. The 10,000 Swords sect replied disdainfully after looking back at the overbearing Dao Tianming. He. So what if I do it? Do you think I don't dare? Upon hearing the 10,000 Swords sect's words, Dao Tianming smiled and suddenly slapped him. This slap was so fast that even Night Sorrow could not react in time. Boom! The 10,000 Swords sect was directly sent flying. Now that I've made a move, what can you do? Dao Tianming looked disdainfully at the 10,000 Swords sect, who was lying on the ground, and then looked coldly at Night Sorrow and said, what can you do? I can't do anything, but I'll kill you in the finals. Night Sorrow glanced at the battleship above his head and realized that the Supreme Being on it did not seem to have seen what was happening before him. It was clear that Dao Tianming had definitely received some kind of hint, which was why he dared to attack the 10,000 Sword sect. He said coldly, "Ha ha ha. You want to kill me? Fine, I'll wait for you." Upon hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Dao Tianming laughed loudly. However, he did not attack Knight Sorrow. He turned around and left. After Dao Tianming left, Knight Sorrow realized that the people of the Divine Immortal Territory and Silverhorn Territory were all looking at him attentively. However, he did not care about this at all. Instead, he helped the 10,000 Sword sect up and fed him a healing pill. He said, "Don't worry, Brother Wan. I'll definitely avenge you." Brother Yi, you can avenge the 10,000 Sword sect yourself. If you attack, I hope you can leave him alive. A trace of hatred flashed across the 10,000 Sword sect's face. He cared a lot about his image. Now that he was beaten up by Dao Tianming in public, he was very resentful. Knight Sorrow nodded and did not say anything else. The other people of the Heavenly Realm territory talked about their own matters. After they finished talking, Supreme Being Yuling appeared again. She said, "Next, we'll send you into the corresponding small worlds. In these small worlds, there will be countless dark creatures. The strongest among them is already at the Supreme Being realm. Your mission is to try your best to kill the dark creatures and people of the other territories. Your final ranking will be determined by your points." After saying that, Supreme Being Yuling took out a huge jade talisman and floated it in the air. On the jade talisman were descriptions of various dark creatures and their points. Ordinary sovereign dark creatures were only worth 1 point. Supreme Being dark creatures were worth 999 points. As for the cultivators of the other territories, each of them were worth 10 points. However, killing cultivators of the other territories would give them the points they got from killing the dark creatures. After everyone finished reading the rules, Supreme Being Yuling continued, "Prepare yourselves. I'll activate the teleportation portal next. Remember, the battle in the small worlds will end in 100 years. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2953. After Supremacy Yuling spoke, many participants became nervous. Everyone from the realm of gods looked at each other and nodded, giving each other confidence. While they were nodding at each other, Supremacy Yuling and the other supremacies controlled the teleportation portals and teleported everyone to their respective small worlds. After that, Yuling walked into the cabin of the battleship to meet Feng Wuji. After entering Feng Wuji's room, Yuling bowed and said, "Sir, I've done what you asked me to do. The realm of gods should be teleported to the center of the small worlds. It's basically impossible for them to avoid the other territories. Now, you can watch how they're killed. You've done well." When Feng Wuji heard Yuling's words, he responded with a fake smile and continued, "There's no need to rush to watch the battle. I called you here because there's something I want to discuss with you." "Oh. Sir, if you have anything to say, just tell me." Hearing this, Yuling said in fear. Although he came from the 5th territory, Moon Shadow Estate, he was still very afraid of an Earth supremacy like Feng Wuji. Not only has our 9 mystical estate not gotten first place in the battle for Providence for many years, but we've also been ranked 4th for more than 10 times. This is definitely a disgrace. What do you think I should do to let our 9 mystical estate win first place? Feng Wuji played with 2 jade balls the size of fingernails in his hands. This simple action brought a lot of pressure to Supremacy Yuling. He thought for a while and said, "Sir, I have no way to let the 9 mystical estate win first place. But it's not a big problem to get into the top 3. As long as there's no seeding in the battle for the top 32, we'll draw lots and let the Sky Owl Estate, Celestial Extinction Estate, and Life Extension Estate meet in advance. It'll be easy for the 9 mystical estate to get into the top 3. Good. When it comes to the battle for the top 32, the rules will be set like this. Feng Wuji nodded in satisfaction after he understood Supremacy Yuling's words. Then, he murmured in an almost undetectable voice, "Supreme longevity, can you really return like you said back then?" Feng Wuji still felt a lingering fear when he recalled the battle against the Supreme Longevity. At that time, the Supreme Longevity had already successfully become an earthly sovereign before anyone else. His strength was the best in the entire eternal sovereign world, but his realm had not yet stabilized. However, he was besieged by the super experts of dozens of territories and eventually died. As for the Divine Realm territory, the fact that it could survive until today was not because it had accumulated enough karmic luck. It was a message left behind by the various territories when they feared the fall of the Supreme Longevity. When I return, I will destroy the God world. The 9 heavens and 10 earths will definitely be destroyed. In other words, if these territories didn't destroy the territories of the God realm, then what happened today would be considered a personal grudge. If a territory destroyed a territory in the divine realm, then when he returned, he would destroy that territory. It was precisely because they were afraid of the return of the Supreme Longevity that some of the territories ranked at the top, although they targeted the territories of the heavenly realm, did not make the final move. When their providence ran out, they would naturally die. My lord, is it really possible for the Supreme Longevity to return after being dead for so many years? Even if he does return, he shouldn't be able to keep up with you adults, right? After all, your cultivation realm has already surpassed his back then. Hearing Feng Wuji's murmurs, Supreme Yuling asked doubtfully. You don't understand how talented the Supreme Longevity is. Actually, the reason why we are where we are today is because we plucked the fruits of his labor. If he really returns, it will definitely cause a huge commotion. However, the final outcome will still be his death. Feng Wuji said solemnly. At this point, he ordered, you go out and take care of the situation. Yes. My lord. After Supreme Yuling left Feng Wuji's place, she returned to the deck and looked at the 32 jade tokens floating in the air with the others. At this time, the jade tokens were filled with images of the territories' battles. Every single one of the 3,200 territories appeared in the images. Supreme Yuling's gaze immediately locked onto the territories of the Divine Realm. At this time, the territories of the Divine Realm had just landed on a plane in the small world. This plane had a radius of several million li, and the surface of the plane was filled with green grass that was as tall as a person. When the wind blew, the green grass would undulate continuously, looking like a wheat field. The scary thing was that when the green grass was bent by the wind, countless short ferocious beasts appeared from the grass. These ferocious beasts looked a little like wolves, but upon closer inspection, they were different. They looked more like ordinary wolves that had been thrown into lava and were quickly fished out. They looked extremely ugly. Hee, it's indeed the center of the small world. Let's see how you all survive. Looking at the ferocious beasts that appeared in the images, Supreme Yuling revealed a cold smile. She knew very well that the only supreme-level ferocious beast in this small world was hidden in this boundless plane. If the territories of the Divine Realm fought too fiercely with these ferocious beasts, it would definitely be lured out. Just as Supreme Yuling was observing the people of the Divine Realm, Knight Sorrow, who had activated the Clam Dragon's Eye, saw everything clearly. As he sucked in a breath of cold air, he realized that the number of ferocious beasts was practically endless. He immediately thought of a countermeasure. After all, these ferocious beasts were all at the Dominator level. If they fought them head-on, they would definitely not be able to win. Brother Yi, why do you look so pale? Isn't it just some ferocious beasts around? At this moment, Master Wan Jian saw that Yi Shang's expression did not look too good. He had already noticed the ferocious beasts around, but he could not see as far as Knight Sorrow. Things are not that simple. There are too many ferocious beasts around us to count. Let's prepare the battleship and use it to escape. After thinking for a moment, Knight Sorrow finally revealed the truth. He knew that the divine realm had no chance of winning against so many ferocious beasts in this vast plain. I have a battleship here. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Jin Xian immediately spoke up. Xuechang Tian also nodded and told everyone that he had a battleship as well. I know these two battleships. Jin Xian, take out the battleship. Everyone, get on the battleship and we will leave immediately. Knight Sorrow said decisively. The ferocious beasts were still summoning their companions to attack. He wanted to use this opportunity to ask Jin Xian to summon the battleship and bring everyone away. All right. I'll summon it now. But just as Jin Xian was about to summon the battleship, all of a sudden, the wolf-shaped beasts roared and charged at the people from the divine world. Genius memorized the address of this site. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2954. Not good. A large number of wolf-shaped beasts are pouncing on us. If we summon the battleship now, it will definitely become a target for everyone. It will be destroyed by them very soon. Let's fight first and wait for the right time to summon the battleship. Knight Sorrow said and continued, there are too many wolf-shaped beasts. We are definitely no match for them. Therefore, we need to test their weakness. As long as we find out what they are afraid of, we can leave safely. All right. Let me test out the Great Deity Sword technique. Seeing a large number of wolf-shaped beasts pouncing on them, Master Wan Jian immediately used the Great Deity Sword technique and transformed into a giant sword to meet them. Asterisk boom. Asterisk Master Wan Jian, who had transformed into a giant sword, suddenly killed all the wolf-shaped beasts in front of him. These wolf-shaped beasts are not too strong. Each of us can deal with some of them. Master Wan Jian immediately shouted after making his move. However, he soon realized that after he made his move, the number of wolf-shaped beasts around him had increased by a lot. Looking around, within a radius of 100,000 miles, there was a dense pack of wolf-shaped beasts. This scene made his hair stand on end. Everyone, form a circle. Try your best to use more tricks. Just like Knight Sorrow said, as long as we find out the weakness of these wolf-shaped beasts, we will be able to survive. Seeing a large number of wolf-shaped beasts surrounding them, Xiao Tianxian immediately shouted. After that, the 10 people of the heavenly realm spread out and left their backs to the others as they fought with the wolf-shaped beasts. Although the wolf-shaped beasts were not too strong, and were even weaker than the weakest ruler, there were too many of them, and they brought a lot of pressure to them. After fighting for about 15 minutes, everyone tried all kinds of attacks. Although the effect was not bad, they did not find anything that could make them afraid. Knight Sorrow, who was in the middle of the battle, thought to himself, even the power of virtue could not make them afraid. What are these beasts afraid of? Fighting like this is not the way to go. After thinking for a moment, he shouted, everyone, try using all kinds of elemental attacks. All right. Everyone, use your elemental attacks. Jin Xian also shouted in a low voice. As the battle progressed, Jin Xian, who was the weakest among them, gradually felt the pressure. As for the weaker Wu Ling Fei, with Knight Sorrow taking care of her, her situation was much better. However, the eternal sovereign world was different from the deity world. As a higher-level world, the eternal sovereign world was obviously more perfect. Everyone could basically cultivate the complete taboo attribute. Therefore, no one would use ordinary attribute attacks. After Knight Sorrow spoke, everyone began to use their metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and other elements. However, As the battle progressed, the people of the heavenly world realized that these wolf-shaped beasts were not afraid of any element. The single elemental attack they used was not effective at all. Even if Knight Sorrow used his power of merit without holding back, it would not have much of an effect. Moreover, as the battle went on, more and more wolf-like ominous beasts appeared. Nie Zhonglin and Jin Xian, who were relatively weaker, were gradually unable to hold on any longer. Haha! You bunch of trash, your combat power is stronger than I expected. But so what? The dire wolves are endless, how can you resist them? Supreme Yuling, who was standing on the deck of the warship, saw that the people of the heavenly world were becoming more and more wretched. At this time, Feng Wuji's voice rang in her ears. Well done. Thank you for the compliment, everyone. Supreme Yuling immediately replied in fear. Don't be afraid, continue watching the show. Feng Wuji said again and then went completely silent, continuing to observe the battle. He was looking to see if there was any reincarnation of supreme longevity among the people of the heavenly world. However, after a while, he did not find anything. After all, Knight Sorrow and the rest did not have any similarities with the methods used by supreme longevity. While Feng Wuji and Yu Ling were observing them, Knight Sorrow and the rest's battle became more and more difficult. It was not only Nie Zhonglin and Jin Xian who were injured. Murong Zhenlu and Yuan Fengxue were also not having it easy. These dire wolves were so crazy that they did not fear death. After their companions were killed, they became even more ferocious. Brother Yi, what should we do? If we continue fighting, I'm afraid we won't be able to hold on. These wolf-like beasts are getting more and more terrifying. Seeing the situation in front of them, Master Wan Jian, who was also feeling the pressure, frowned and shouted. Just as he said, if this battle continued, what awaited them would definitely be death. The situation in front of them was obviously more difficult than what they encountered in the blood-colored star. Although the battle in the blood-colored star was difficult, there was still hope. The battle in front of them gave them a feeling of endless suffering. We can't go on like this. I'll use my supreme artifact to buy you some time. Get on the battleship and escape. I'll catch up to you. After opening the sea serpent's eye and observing for a while, Knight Sorrow realized that the dire wolves were still attacking from afar. He knew that the situation in front of them was not easy to solve. He immediately took out the golden heavenly halberd that had been upgraded to a supreme artifact. And he smashed it on the grass. Boom! With just a simple smash, an endless amount of energy ripples spread out and blasted towards the dire wolves. Like a wave, all the dire wolves within dozens of miles were killed. A supreme artifact is indeed extraordinary. Seeing the power of Knight Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd, the rest of the people in the divine realm praised. You guys go quickly. I'll cover you. Originally, Knight Sorrow did not want to use the golden heavenly halberd so quickly because it was his trump card. But the pressure in front of them was too great. If he did not use it, the people in the divine realm would have no chance of survival. Everyone, go quickly. Follow me. At this time, Jin Xian decisively summoned the battleship and asked everyone to board it. When everyone boarded the battleship, a large number of dire wolves attacked and flew into the void. At this time, Knight Sorrow summoned the golden heavenly halberd and blasted out a spear technique similar to the fiery demon spear. Immediately, a large area of flames was blasted out in the void. After being blasted by the supreme artifact's flames, most of the dire wolves were killed. The pressure on the battleship was obviously reduced by a lot. They can't withstand the supreme artifact's energy. Everyone, go quickly. I can hold off these wolf-shaped beasts. The golden heavenly halberd's attack quickly turned a large number of dire wolves into ashes. Knight Sorrow immediately felt relieved. These dire wolves were not afraid of all kinds of attacks, but they were obviously suppressed by the Supreme Artifact's attacks. The Supreme Artifact's attacks should be their only weakness. After fighting for a while more, the battleship had completely arrived in the void. The number of dire wolves that could catch up to them was decreasing. Everyone in the divine realm heaved a sigh of relief. It was really dangerous. If it wasn't for Brother Ye's supreme artifact, we would have died. Yuan Fengshue patted his heaving chest and said. But at this time, a loud wolf howl suddenly sounded from the vast grassland. Genius remembered this address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2955. As soon as the wolf howled, the dire wolves that were charging towards Night Sorrow and the battleship immediately stopped. However, Night Sorrow and the rest did not feel lucky because of this. That was because the howl had caused everyone present to tremble from the depths of their souls. It was obvious that this was a supreme world-class ferocious beast. Although Night Sorrow had a real Supreme Realm artifact, he still had no chance of winning against a Supreme Realm beast. Oh no! There's actually a Supreme Realm dire wolf on this grassland. Let's run. Night Sorrow, who shouted this, had a completely changed expression. Because he knew that a Supreme Realm dire wolf was not something they could deal with. At this moment, he could only hope that the Supreme Realm dire wolf was further away from them. That way, they would have a higher chance of survival. Little bastard, I didn't expect you to have a Supreme Realm artifact. But so what? Let's see how you block the Supreme Realm dire wolf's attack. Supreme Yuling, who was watching from the deck, revealed a smug and sinister smile. He was very surprised that Night Sorrow, who was born in a territory that had declined for a long time, could still take out a Supreme Realm artifact. However, after the appearance of the Supreme Realm dire wolf, he completely calmed down and watched the show calmly. Brother Yi, which direction should we escape in? After the battleship started moving, Jin Xian asked with a trembling voice. At this moment, he was very afraid that he would choose the wrong direction and fly towards the Supreme Realm dire wolf. Fly this way. Night Sorrow, who had noticed the direction where the wolves were worshipping, pointed in the opposite direction. He guessed that the direction where the wolves were worshipping was definitely where the Supreme Realm dire wolf was. Okay. Jin Xian replied and drove the battleship in the direction that Night Sorrow had pointed. After worshipping, the numerous dire wolves quickly resumed their pursuit and chased in the direction of the battleship. At the Dominator realm, flying was no longer a problem for these dire wolves. In an instant, countless dire wolves crazily chased behind the flying battleship. Awoo! At this moment, the huge wolf howl sounded from afar again. Xiao Tianxian said with a headache, not good. The supreme level dire wolf is getting closer and closer. At this moment, Night Sorrow walked to Jin Xian's side and said, let me pilot the battleship. Good. Then I'll have to trouble you, Brother Yi. Jin Xian, whose forehead was already covered in sweat, gave up his position to Night Sorrow. Together with the others, he stood at the rear of the battleship and attacked the dire wolves that had caught up to them, preventing them from boarding the battleship. These dire wolves are really fast. Master Wan Jian, who was standing at the stern of the ship, couldn't help but sigh as he blocked the dire wolf with his sword. The speed of these dire wolves was clearly faster than a cultivator like him. If it wasn't for the fact that his strength was ordinary, then he was truly heaven-defying. If we can't even shake off the ordinary dire wolves, then the sovereign dire wolves will definitely catch up to us. Yuan Fengshue, who was blocking the dire wolves beside the myriad sword sect, frowned as he spoke. Hearing this, the faces of Murong Zhenlu and the others turned ugly. A dire wolf king was definitely stronger than an ordinary dire wolf. This was a very simple logic. After thinking for a moment, they felt that the Supreme Wolf King would definitely catch up. Thinking of this, Xiao Tianxian immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Can we still speed up a little? At this rate, the Supreme Wolf King will definitely catch up. I'll do my best. This battleship consumes eternal god crystals at this speed. Night Sorrow replied to Xiao Tianxian and began to think about what to use as a source of energy for the battleship. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow's eyes suddenly lit up. He took out some Sovereign's essence and used it as a source of energy for the battleship. After absorbing the Sovereign's essence, the battleship's speed had indeed increased by 30 to 40%. After the battleship's speed increased, most of the dire wolves were gradually pulled apart. Less than a tenth of them were still able to keep up. In this way, the pressure on Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian and the others was reduced by a lot. However, before everyone could laugh, the third wolf howl resounded in the void. This time, the wolf howl sounded much clearer than the previous 2 times. The expressions of Myriad Sword Sect and the others immediately changed. He bit his lips and said helplessly, "The Supreme Wolf King is getting closer and closer. It's getting more and more dangerous. I don't know what to do. I'm also very helpless." Xiao Tianxian also sighed. They had no way to deal with the Supreme Wolf King. They could only try their best to resist these ordinary dire wolves. Ha ha ha. I'll see how you guys die. Yu Ling, who was watching all of this, had a sinister smile on his face. Seeing the Supreme Wolf King getting closer and closer to the heavenly realm, his smile became brighter and brighter. However, at this moment, he suddenly realized that the heavenly realm battleship's speed had increased by a lot again. After this time, the heavenly realm battleship had almost shaken off all the ordinary dire wolves. Even the Supreme Wolf King was a little further away from them. Damn it, what's going on? What happened? Yu Ling muttered gloomily when he saw the scene in front of him. I'm afraid they're using the Supreme Law to power the battleship. At this moment, Feng Wuji's cold voice suddenly sounded. They have the Supreme Wolf King's essence on them. Yu Ling heard Feng Wuji's voice and said in disbelief. Although the heavenly realm has declined, it's not a big deal to have some supreme law and essence. Feng Wuji's brows were more indifferent. After saying that, he continued, not only that, he has the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence on him. This time, he shouldn't die. It's really too easy for these ants. Yu Ling said fiercely. He was not satisfied that he did not wipe out the entire Heavenly Realm battleship. Humph. What do you know? If they are eliminated so early, how can we be sure that there's a reincarnation of the supreme longevity among them? Feng Wuji said emotionlessly. However, Yu Ling could hear the sinister meaning in his words. In the small world, after Night Sorrow used the Supreme Wolf King's essence, he quickly shook off the dire wolves and the Supreme Wolf King. However, after being shaken off, the Supreme Wolf King once again howled and burned its bloodline power to chase after him. Not long after, the Heavenly Realm battleships could clearly see the Supreme Wolf King's figure. The Supreme Wolf King was 1,000 times bigger than the ordinary dire wolves. It had a pair of wings and looked extremely ferocious, like a devil from hell. We're definitely no match for it now. There's only one way left. The Heavenly Realm battleship's faces changed. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow used the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence that Feng Wuji had injected into his body. The Earth Supreme Wolf King could not absorb the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence, nor could it be swatted out of his body. However, if he cut off the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence along with his flesh, the battleship could absorb it. After absorbing the Earth Supreme Wolf King's essence, the battleship lifted up again in an instant and quickly shook the Supreme Wolf King off as it disappeared into the horizon. However, just as it shook the Supreme Wolf King off, the battleship exploded with a boom. Clan. Chapter 2956. The reason why the battleship exploded was because it could not withstand the Earth Supreme's essence. Just as it escaped from the Supreme Wolf King's tracking range, it exploded in mid-air. Boom! Everyone, including Night Sorrow, was injured by the explosion. The place where they fell was on a mountain peak with countless towering boulders. The mountain peak looked like a giant sword, but with countless boulders pressing down on it, it was as if the sword was sealed. After observing the terrain, Night Sorrow set up a simple concealment array and said, "Everyone, quickly adjust your state. This small world should not be that big. There are only 100 territories. It's easy to encounter them. Night Sorrow, how are you?" Everyone began to heal themselves. Wu Lingfei walked to Night Sorrow and asked with a pained heart. The flesh that Night Sorrow had cut off for the battleship looked terrifying. "Don't worry, Sister Fei. I'm fine." Night Sorrow smiled, indicating that he was fine. At the same time, he swallowed a few pills and sat on the ground to recover. Seeing that the heavenly realm had successfully shaken off the Supreme Wolf King and had begun to recover, Yu Ling, who was unwilling to give up, looked at Feng Wuji cautiously and asked, "Sir, could there be a reincarnation of eternal life supremacy among these ants?" "I'm not sure either. But this time, if the heavenly realm does not enter the top 1,000, the heavenly realm's providence will not last until the next battle of providence. At that time, the heavenly realm will naturally be destroyed. So, this is the only chance for the heavenly realm. I believe that if Supreme Longevity can be reincarnated, he will definitely appear. Otherwise, he will be completely dead." Feng Wuji looked at everyone who was recovering and said, "But they have killed more than 3,000 dire beasts and are temporarily ranked first in this group. It's my fault." Yu Ling broke out in cold sweat when she heard Feng Wuji's words. Originally, he wanted to deal with the heavenly realm, so he let them land in the central area with the most dire beasts. But the heavenly realm's people were obviously very strong, especially Night Sorrow. With his supreme artifact, he killed hundreds of dire beasts in no time. He had gained a lot of points for the heavenly realm. If I'm not wrong, they've set up a concealment formation. Furthermore, the level of this formation wasn't something that ordinary sovereigns could detect. So that they, who had more than 3,000 points, could continue to hide like this. It was very likely that he would enter the top 30 of this group. "Hurry up and think of something," Feng Wuji instructed. He wanted to force the immortal realm into a corner and see if someone would suddenly explode. "Don't worry, my lord. I have a way to deal with them." At this time, Yu Ling took out 3 crystal-clear jade stones from her waist and spoke to them. Then, he looked at Feng Wuji and said, "My lord. Someone has gone to deal with them. How strong are the people who dealt with them? If he was too weak, he wouldn't be a match for the Divine King. Him controlling a supreme divine artifact isn't what ordinary sovereigns can contend with." Feng Wuji said with a cold snort. "Don't worry, my lord. I've contacted the people from the Celestial Immortal Territory. Their captain, Sky Sword, is a rare genius of the Sword Dao. With him taking action, we'll definitely be able to figure out the depths of the people from the divine world," Yu Ling promised solemnly. She felt that this was not enough and continued, "If they're not enough, there's still the Silverhorn Territory and the Dao World Territory. No matter how strong they are, they won't be a match for the Dao World Territory." "Yes, you've done well." Feng Wuji nodded in satisfaction. At this moment, in the small world, the people from the Celestial Immortal Territory received the news that Yu Ling had cheated and immediately rushed to the location of the people from the Divine World Territory. However, they were not close. By the time Sky Sword arrived with his men, Night Sorrow and the others had completely recovered. "Hee. You bastards from the Divine World Territory, you really made me look for you. After arriving at the location of the Divine World Territory, Tianqing could not see Night Sorrow and the others. However, he still shouted at the location that Yu Ling had pointed out. I didn't expect you to see through my concealment Dharma array. Night Sorrow, who did not expect Yu Ling to be commanding everything outside, thought that Tianqing and the others had seen through the concealment array. He immediately walked out of the array. Were you the one who killed Ji Yun? Did Ji Feng also die in your hands? Seeing the people from the Divine World Territory walk out of the concealment array one after another, Sky Sword, whose eyebrows were like 10,000 years old ice, immediately snorted coldly. Night Sorrow had the mark left behind by Ji Yun's father, so he recognized him immediately. Yes. Night Sorrow looked at Sky Sword and said, You're much stronger than Ji Feng. It's good that you know. Sky Sword snorted and pointed at Night Sorrow. Leave this person to me. You guys go and kill the others. Yes. Hearing Sky Sword's order, the other 20 overcultivators from the Celestial Immortal Territory all drew their swords. Every one of them had a sword as their divine weapon. Ha ha. Leave this beauty to me. Tianqing pointed at Wu Lingfei, revealing a greedy expression between his brows. You're courting death. I'll fight Sky Sword and Tianqing. You guys use the joint attack array to fight against the others. Seeing Tianqing's gaze on Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow immediately flew into a rage. He pointed at Sky Sword and Tianqing and directly took out his supreme divine weapon, Golden Heavenly Halberd. Night Sorrow was clear that in comparison, the strength of the Divine Realm Territory was clearly weaker than the Celestial Immortal Territory. He had to go all out. Supreme Divine Weapon, it's actually a Supreme Divine Weapon. Along with the Earth's sovereign law and essence in your body, they all belong to me. When Sky Sword saw Night Sorrow take out his Supreme Divine Weapon, Golden Heavenly Halberd, not only did he not panic, the corners of his mouth even revealed a trace of a smile. Following that, he also took out his own divine weapon. It's actually also a supreme divine weapon, but it's a silver sword that can let out a dragon's roar. Good sword. Brother Wan, I will give this sword to you as a gift. Seeing the silver sword in Sky Sword's hand, Night Sorrow immediately roared. Audacious. You're about to die and still dare to be stubborn. Kill for me. When Sky Sword heard Night Sorrow's words, he was completely enraged. With a roar, he thrusted his sword at Yi Sorrow. This sword was a probing attack. He did not use his absolute art, but the power was similarly huge. The moment Sky Sword attacked, Tianqing hesitated and did not make a move. He was afraid of angering Sky Sword. Therefore, he followed the original plan and directly attacked Wu Lingfei. You're courting death. Seeing Tianqing attack Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow immediately used the Void Dragon movement technique. Under the situation of dodging Sky Sword's attack, he blocked in front of Tianqing and used the Reincarnation Spear technique. Boom! With a loud sound, Tianqing was immediately sent flying. The strength of the two of you is only so. Come at me together. Night Sorrow, who sent Tianqing flying, coldly snorted. Wu Lingfei gave him a grateful expression and cooperated with myriad swords set to fight Xiao Tianxian. Clan M. Chapter 2957. Although Wu Lingfei's strength could not be compared to Night Sorrow's, even in the realm of gods, she was the weakest. However, her comprehension was very good. With Thousand Swords Sect and Xiao Tianxuan's joint attack, she immediately made up for her disadvantage in strength. Moreover, Thousand Swords Sect and Xiao Tianxian knew that she was Night Sorrow's important relative and took good care of her. In the battle, Wu Lingfei did not encounter any danger. Since you want to die, don't blame us for bullying you with numbers. Tianqing, don't worry about my face. Let's attack together and kill him. On the other side, Sky Sword's face turned black after being scolded by Night Sorrow. He ordered Tianqing to fight Night Sorrow with him. He wanted to use the fastest speed to get rid of Night Sorrow and the realm of gods. Because this was not a battle of honor, but a battle to extinguish under Yuling's command. Good. I was worried that if I interfered, it would cause you to be unhappy. Since that's the case, I have nothing to worry about. Hearing Sky Sword's words, Tianqing, who was injured, immediately became spirited. Looking at Night Sorrow, he gritted his teeth and said, I will use the sword in my hand to cut you into pieces. I hope the sword in your hand is as sharp as your mouth. Night Sorrow looked at Tianqing and used his divine sense to sense the situation of the others. At this time, the people from the realm of gods and the people from the realm of gods had just started fighting. The number of people from the realm of gods was about twice the number of people from the realm of gods. Basically, it was 2 against 1. However, the cultivators from the realm of gods could use joint attacks to make up for the disadvantage in numbers. However, overall, although the realm of gods did not have any casualties after the battle, they were still at a disadvantage overall. Overconfident fool, you're just the divine king. How dare you be so arrogant now? At this time, Sky Sword saw that Night Sorrow was still paying attention to the other people's battle while facing him and Tianqing. He immediately felt insulted. Immediately, he used his ultimate skill. Immortal Flying Frost Sword. When the celestial immortal flying frost sword was slashed out, the void immediately froze. Immediately, countless frost-like sword energies shot towards Night Sorrow. There were more than 100 million of these flying frost formed by sword chi. Even the others in the battle were affected by it. What a powerful unique skill. However, you are mostly relying on the supreme divine artifact. There's nothing to fear. Inferno Devil Subduing Spear. Facing Sky Sword's immortal flying frost sword, Night Sorrow immediately used Inferno Exorcism. A vast sea of fire immediately appeared in the void. After the sea of fire appeared, it quickly engulfed the flying frost. The Sky Sword's attack was completely annihilated. Inferno Demon Subduing. Very strong, but not enough. After Night Sorrow easily blocked his attack, Sky Sword immediately unleashed another attack. Non-phase Heavenly Sword Technique. When Sky Sword unleashed this attack, Tianqing, who had not moved all this while, had a sinister look on his face. Suddenly vanishing into the void, he stabbed a sharp sword towards Night Sorrow, heading straight for his divine C position. He was preparing to slit the throat with one sword while Night Sorrow was concentrating on resisting Sky Sword. Want to sneak attack me? Just based on you. I'll finish you off first, then I'll fight with Sky Sword. Tianqing's sneak attack completely had nowhere to hide in the eyes of the Night Sorrow, who activated the Mirage Dragon Eye. Discovering that Tianqing launched a sneak attack on him, Night Sorrow immediately ignored Sky Sword's attack and displayed the Yang Clan heaven-rending art at him. What guts! To dare ignore my non-phase heavenly sword technique. Go to hell. Seeing Night Sorrow ignore his attack and attack toward Tianqing, Sky Sword was simply about to explode in anger. But just as he was about to attack Night Sorrow suddenly fired out a Divine Essence Trapping Array at him and threw out a Merit Jade Talisman at him. The Divine Essence Trapping Array could not trap Sky Sword. The Merit Jade Talisman could not cause a fatal blow to him either. But under the combination of these two moves, it directly resolved Sky Sword's attack. Not good. Why is this move so powerful? If I take it head-on, I'll die without a doubt. Facing Night Sorrow's Yang Clan heaven-rending art, Tianqing, who was originally preparing to sneak attack him, was immediately frightened out of his wits. Stopping his figure, he took out several divine talismans and directly smashed them out. It's no use. Facing the many divine talismans that Tianqing smashed out, Knight Sorrow chose to directly use speed to break through. Before these divine talismans exploded, he passed through their sealed area and suddenly slammed the golden heavenly halberd onto Tianqing's body. Being bombarded by the supreme divine artifact, golden heavenly halberd, Tianqing's body immediately exploded. He did not even have the chance to crush his identity token and was directly one-shot. At the same time, 10 points were added to Knight Sorrow's identity token. Very clearly, this was the points that came from Tianqing. Furthermore, he was directly killed under the circumstances where he did not even hunt a single fierce beast. Therefore, it was only worth 10 points. Bastard! Killing Tianqing in front of me, I'm going to make your body into a puppet and seal your divine soul into a maggot. Seeing Tianqing being killed in front of his own eyes, Sky Sword's face was completely lost. Immediately igniting his bloodline power, he raised his strength to the strongest state. He used his strongest move. Heaven Sword Unity. Combining himself with the supreme divine artifact, Skyfrost Sword, and blasted towards Knight Sorrow. Fine sword art. Sky Sword's move was clearly much stronger than myriad sword sects. Knight Sorrow estimated that his combat power could already rank in the top 500 of this final competition. Using the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe this move, Knight Sorrow pondered for a moment, and immediately displayed the Treistrimsa Heaven Combat Mystic Art, and raised his fighting intent to the highest. Displaying the Man and Spear unity deduced from myriad sword sects' great immortal sword art. Boom! When Knight Sorrow's Man and Spear unity and Sky Sword's Man and Sword unity clashed together, the surrounding void shattered like glass, shattering for 100,000 miles. The other cultivators in battle all stopped fighting and looked over. At this time, less than 100 breaths of time had passed since the start of the battle, and there were no casualties on either side. Knight Sorrow, how are you? After Knight Sorrow and Sky Sword clashed, the void turned completely dark. Wu Lingfei called out worriedly. The battle was very short, and at this time, she was not injured, but not seeing Knight Sorrow appear, her heart ached with worry. In fact, it was not only Wu Lingfei who was worried, the others in the Heavenly Immortal Realm and Heavenly Immortal Realm were also worried. Without a doubt, the outcome of Knight Sorrow and Sky Sword's battle would determine which side the balance of this competition was tilted towards. Relatively speaking, their battle was not that important. Don't worry, Sister Fei, I'm fine. The one who's not fine is him. After the void fell silent, Knight Sorrow's voice suddenly sounded. Hearing this voice, Wu Lingfei's eyes turned red, and she said, "You really don't disappoint. Sky Sword, he couldn't have been killed, right?" After Knight Sorrow spoke, the people in Heavenly Immortal Realm could not remain calm, and they unconsciously gathered together. Clan M. Chapter 2958. Without a doubt, Sky Sword was their absolute leader and their backbone to the Celestial Immortals' territory. Now that they realized that Sky Sword was likely to be defeated, many of the Celestial Immortals' territory cultivators gathered together. One of the cultivators called Tianqing shouted, "Brother Sky Sword, how are you? Are you hurt?" However, what awaited him was a vast silence. The void gradually calmed down, but Sky Sword did not respond. No need to shout, he has already turned into the essence of the laws. From now on, Sky Sword no longer exists in this world. At this time, Knight Sorrow, who had slightly recovered, took out the Skyfrost sword he got from Sky Sword from his spatial artifact and handed it to Myriad Sword Sect. "Brother Juan, this Skyfrost sword is very high quality this time. Polish it well, you should be able to use it. Hee hee. Since it's in the hands of Myriad Sword Sect, it's no longer called Skyfrost Sword." Myriad Sword Sect took the Skyfrost sword from Knight Sorrow's hands and injected his divine power into it. After controlling it, he immediately polished its appearance. Then, he said, from now on, it's called a mortal slaying sword. After that, Myriad Sword Sect looked at the Celestial Immortals territory cultivators and sneered, do you understand what I mean? Retreat. Currently, the strongest cultivators in the Celestial Immortals territory, Sky Sword and Sky Crystal, were both killed by Night Sorrow. How could the Celestial Immortals territory cultivators have the will to continue fighting? Seeing that Myriad Sword Sect was about to attack, they immediately used their flying sword techniques and fled into the distance. Coming and going as you please, how can there be such a good thing in this world? Seeing the Celestial Immortals territory cultivators fleeing, how could Myriad Sword Sect do anything? He took the lead and chased after them with his sword. However, the Celestial Immortals territory cultivators were clearly in a complete panic. Facing Myriad Sword Sect who was chasing after them alone, they did not fight back and just kept running. In the end, Myriad Sword Sect killed 3 people in a row. As for the rest of the Celestial Immortals territory, they successfully escaped into the grassland where the dire wolf was. Myriad Sword Sect and the rest of the Celestial Immortals territory were still fearful of this grassland, so they did not chase after them. He returned to the place where the battle had just taken place and cleaned up the traces of the battle. Then, he continued to recover from his injuries within the concealment array. Although the battle did not last long, the Celestial Realm was at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. Other than Night Sorrow's side, the rest of the Celestial Realm did not have much of an advantage. Although no one died, 3 or 4 of them were injured to a certain extent. As for Night Sorrow, he had only expended a little more energy. I think we have too few people. If they encountered a stronger territory, they would definitely not be able to hold on. In the near future, I'm preparing to absorb the Sovereign's laws and essence to break through to the ruler realm as soon as possible. Once I reach the Sovereign realm, my strength will definitely increase greatly. That way, I won't have to fear the stronger territories. While everyone was recovering, Night Sorrow rearranged the concealment array and voiced his thoughts. All right. Celestial Immortals territories aren't considered to be very powerful territories. After encountering them, we were barely able to resist them. If we meet someone stronger, I'm afraid we can only run away. Wan Jianzong nodded in agreement and continued, but Brother Yi, if you can advance to the ruler realm, then things will be completely different. I also think that the Celestial Realm's strength is a little weak. There should be a qualitative improvement. Otherwise, it would be impossible to achieve such an exciting result in the finals. Xiao Tianxian also agreed that Night Sorrow should immediately start cultivating. After all, Night Sorrow had the laws and essence left behind by the Horn Clan sovereign. As long as Night Sorrow was at ease, he could advance to the ruler realm. Others, including Wu Lingfei, also felt that Night Sorrow should immediately start cultivating. After receiving everyone's support, Night Sorrow opened up a stone room on the mountain peak. After setting up a simple array, he entered to cultivate. There was a concealment array outside, so he was not too worried. However, he was still very curious about how the Celestial Immortals territory cultivators found them. Now that Brother Yi has started cultivating, this time will last at least 10 years or even 20 or 30 years. Let's just cultivate here in peace. Anyway, the battle in the small world will last for 100 years. We are not in a hurry. Wan Jianzong said his thoughts as Night Sorrow walked into the stone room. The others naturally did not object to this idea. Thus, they opened up their own stone rooms and entered a state of cultivation. When the Celestial Realm people entered a state of cultivation, Yuling outside was obviously angry. He scolded, "The Celestial Immortals territory is really disappointing. Lord, I will transfer the Silverhorn territory over and let them deal with the Celestial Realm." He was very unhappy that the Celestial Immortals territory did not have any effect on the Celestial Realm's territory. No need for that, let's observe for a while more. Feng Wuji shook his head indifferently and said, "These people from the celestial immortals' territory did not come in vain. Now we are clear that the celestial realm's territory is completely dependent on this divine king called Night Sorrow. This is also a good thing. But if this Night Sorrow continues to cultivate, I'm afraid he will break through to the ruler realm soon. That will be even harder to deal with. Lord, why don't you let me send people?" Supreme Yuling asked in confusion. So what if he breaks through to the ruler realm? Feng Wuji said in disdain and continued, "Besides, if you continuously send people over, they will definitely be alerted. Also, the Dao World's territory that you mentioned is too far away. As for the Silverhorn territory, I don't think so." "Lord, you mean that the Silverhorn territory, which is 2 to 3 times stronger than the Celestial Immortals' territory, might not be their match?" Supreme Yuling said in shock. In his opinion, the Silverhorn territory had more than 40 rulers, which was 4 times the number of the Celestial Realm's territory. Their strength was definitely above theirs. Just now, I observed the battle in the Silverhorn territory. There is no outstanding strength among them. The strongest person, Yin Jiao, is not even comparable to Tian Jian. With such strength, they can't face Night Sorrow. No matter how many come, he can kill as many as he wants. Feng Wuji said coldly. He was very disappointed that Supreme Yuling did not even notice such details. "Yes. I understand. I will continue to look for other suitable territories." Supreme Yuling responded and observed the battle in other territories. There were a few other territories that he could contact. It was just that he did not show it just now. According to my observation, within 20 years, Night Sorrow will definitely break through to the ruler realm. Make the arrangements. After saying that, Feng Wuji went to watch the battle in the 9 mystical realm and no longer paid attention to this side. "Okay. I will make the arrangements." Supreme Yuling promised, but she was secretly unhappy. Clan M. Chapter 2959. The territories that Supreme Yuling could contact were either allies of the Moon's Shadow Estate or subservient to the Moon's Shadow Estate. Now, he had to do things according to Feng Wuji's whims. However, he didn't dare to show his displeasure. After all, the other party was an Earth Supreme, one of the top 10 experts in the Eternal Supreme World. He was someone who could really cause a huge commotion in the Eternal Supreme World. After observing for a while, Supreme Yuling locked her gaze on the Mystic Ice Estate. The Mystic Ice Estate was ranked 132nd in the previous competition. In the current small world, they were ranked top 5 and had the ability to crush the Divine World Estate. Besides, they had just fought a battle and weren't far from the Divine World Estate. If they hurried, they would reach in about half a year. Thus, Supreme Yuling took out a stone and sent a voice transmission to the Mystic Immortal leading the Mystic Ice Estate. She said, "Go straight east and there's a sword-shaped mountain peak with many stone pillars on it. Now, the people from the Divine World Estate are cultivating in the concealment array near the stone pillars. I want you to lead your men to extinguish them. I don't want to see the Divine World Estate advance to the top 1000 in this competition. Supreme Yuling, don't worry. The Mystic Immortal won't let you down. I've paid attention to the Divine World Estate. There's only 10 of them. There's nothing to be afraid of." The Mystic Immortal heard Supreme Yuling's voice transmission and immediately replied confidently. Originally, he was like the other territories, scheming for Night Sorrow's Earth Supreme Law and Essence. Now that he received the voice transmission, the Mystic Immortal was very excited. Don't underestimate Night Sorrow. He's not easy to deal with. Seeing the Mystic Immortal's expression through the screen, Supreme Yuling frowned slightly. This Mystic Immortal obviously didn't care about Night Sorrow at all. At that moment, the other Supremes present basically saw through some of Supreme Yuling's arrangements. However, they didn't say much. Because whether it was Heaven Immortal Estate, Silverhorn Estate or Mystic Ice Estate, none of them had the ability to rank in the top 108. There weren't any Supremes present. Seeing Supreme Yuling's continuous actions, only the Dao World Estate Supreme Dao Wui walked over. He sent a voice transmission. Why do we need to use the Mystic Ice Estate to deal with a mere Divine World Estate? The relationship between the Dao World and the Lunar Shadow Estate was not far. Many people weren't aware of this, but Dao Wui and Yuling were. That God King in the territory of the God Realm is quite powerful. He had just insta-killed Sky Sword. He was not easy to deal with. Now that I don't know his background, I can only send out the stronger territories. Supreme Yuling sighed. If we still can't deal with the Divine Realm, Limitless Earth Sovereign will be extremely displeased with me even though he won't say anything. Who would have thought that after so many years of decline, such a figure would suddenly appear in the firmament? Dao Wui murmured. Then, he looked in the direction of the God Realm's territory and said, "This Yishang, could he be the reincarnation of Longevity Sovereign? If so, we must nip it in the bud. I think the Limitless Earthly Sovereign's intention is to confirm that he is the reincarnation of the Supreme Longevity, nurture him, and then kill him to absorb his precepts and essence to break through the bottleneck." Supreme Yuling transmitted her voice to Dao Wui. Hearing this, Dao Wui frowned. If Night Sorrow is really the reincarnation of Supreme Longevity, we might be nurturing a tiger. What I'm saying is just a guess. Supreme Yuling said, and then looked towards Mystic Ice's territory with Dao Wui. Originally, Supreme Yuling wanted the Mystic Ice Estate to immediately search for the Divine Realm people. However, not long after the Mystic Ice Estate's battleship took off, the Mystic Ice Estate encountered its nemesis, the Chaos Estate. The Chaos Estate's results in the previous competition were almost the same as the Mystic Ice Estate's. Furthermore, they had formed a deep grudge. Now that they encountered each other, they immediately engaged in an intense battle. Damn it, why is there still a new problem? Seeing the Mystic Ice Estate and the Chaos Estate fighting, Supreme Yuling's face darkened. However, since both sides had engaged in a huge battle, it was impossible to pull them apart. He could only look for other suitable targets. However, after searching for half a day, he still couldn't find a suitable target. As a result, the matter of dealing with the Divine Realm was delayed. Night Sorrow, who didn't know that there were people in the outside world plotting against the Divine Realm, was completely immersed in cultivation. The laws and essence left behind by the Horn Race's Supreme were very gentle. He didn't encounter any difficulties in absorbing them. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. I thought that I would need to cultivate for another 50 to 60 years before I could advance. Now, it seems like I only need 10 years. Night Sorrow, who was immersed in cultivation, realized that this small world was clearly different from the Divine Realm. Cultivating here was much easier than cultivating in the Divine Realm. The improvement was huge. Just like that, 7 years passed. Night Sorrow hadn't reached the sovereign level yet, but Wu Lingfei had unexpectedly reached the sovereign level. This surprised the Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian. Because Wu Lingfei's accumulation in the Divine King level was much weaker than Night Sorrow's. Furthermore, she had just advanced to the upper Divine King level not long ago. In just 7 years, she had successfully advanced from half-step sovereign to sovereign. This was very surprising. After Wu Lingfei passed the sovereign tribulation, Xiao Tianxian immediately asked curiously, "Lingfei, how did you advance to sovereign in such a short time? This doesn't make sense. Maybe it's because I absorbed the laws and essence very quickly. In the genius base, the resources in our hands aren't considered good. But now, I can absorb the laws and essence of sovereigns uncontrollably, so I advanced quickly." Wu Lingfei thought for a moment and said. After advancing to sovereign, her temperament had changed a lot. After cultivating, she discovered that the speed at which she absorbed the laws and essence of sovereigns was thousands of times faster than ordinary cultivators. Thus, in these 7 years, she continuously absorbed the laws and essence that Night Sorrow had left behind for her. Then, she actually directly advanced to sovereign. This was a complete surprise. I wonder how Brother Ye's cultivation is going. After everyone celebrated Wu Lingfei, Murong Zizhen suddenly looked toward the stone room Night Sorrow was cultivating in. At this time, the stone room was covered in dust, but there was no movement. They had no idea how far Night Sorrow had cultivated. Trash from the divine realm, hurry up and come out. I know that you are here. Just as everyone looked toward the stone room Night Sorrow was in, a series of curses came from outside the concealment array. The people who came were the people from the Mystic Ice territory who had just finished fighting in the Chaos territory and had recovered a few years ago. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2960. They seem to be from Mystic Ice territory. How did they find us? The Deity World people in the concealment formation became nervous when they saw the people from Mystic Ice territory. After all, Mystic Ice territory was ranked in the top 200 in the last battle for Providence. Their overall strength was not something that the Deity World could fight against. I'm not sure. But it seems like they are not all gathered in our direction. They might have found out about us through the people from Sky Immortal territory. Wu Lingfei, who had just become a dominator, observed for a while and realized that the people from Mystic Ice territory did not know where they were. He immediately spoke up to remind everyone. Hearing this, Master Wang Jian observed for a while and realized that it was true. He said, they really did not find us. Let's wait and see how they deal with it. After Master Wang Jian said that, the Deity World people stopped talking and observed the people from Mystic Ice territory. Mystic Ice territory had only 20 people left after the formation with Chaos territory. Their overall strength had decreased by a lot. But to the Deity World people, they were still a giant. Although the people from Mystic Ice territory and Sky Immortal territory were about the same, their individual strength was obviously 2 levels higher. There were 12 peak dominator cultivators, which was much stronger than the Deity World people. There is no reaction. Leader Xian Xian, what should we do? Could it be that the source of the information is wrong? The people from Mystic Ice territory could not see through the concealment formation. Xian Ming, the deputy leader, looked at Xian Xian in confusion. No. My information came from a lord who can't be wrong. His information can't be wrong. Xian Xian said coldly and pointed at a location. They must be hiding there. Take out your secret treasures and attack that place. On the way here, Mystic Ice territory had communicated with Supreme Yuling and confirmed the location of the people from the Deity World. Yes. Leader. Hearing this, Xian Ming immediately ordered the others, attack that direction. Yes. After receiving the order, the cultivators from Mystic Ice territory took out all kinds of secret treasures and weapons and attacked the place where the people from the Deity World were. In an instant, the sky was filled with light, and the entire mountain shook. From the looks of it, the people from the Profound Ice territory have indeed discovered us. Everyone, get ready for battle. After the Mystic Ice territory's members attacked, Xiao Tianxian took out his divine equipment and said to the others, Night Sorrow is at the critical moment of breaking through to the Dominator rank. We have to buy him as much time as possible. Good. All of us will do our best. Master Wang Jian replied and pulled out his immortal slaying sword, preparing for battle. It was the same for the other people in the heavenly realm. As for the concealment formation that Night Sorrow had set up, it would soon be broken by force under the bombardment of everyone. The people from the divine realm also appeared in front of the people from the Xianbing territory. Ha! Sure enough, it's here. You guys can really keep your composure. Xianming, the vice leader of the Xian immortal territory, laughed when he saw the people from the divine world. Meanwhile, Xianbing frowned and shouted, "Where's that fellow, Yi Chang?" The people in front of him were all sovereigns, and they were different from what sovereign Yu Ling had described. He was certain that Night Sorrow wasn't among them. What does that have to do with you? Where is Night Sorrow? You are the Xian immortal from the Xianbing territory, right? Let me see what you're capable of. Do you dare to fight with me? After the Xian immortal spoke, Master Wan Jian stepped forward with his immortal slaying sword and challenged the Xian immortal. This was to buy time for Night Sorrow. You think you can challenge me, the Xian immortal? Xianming, go and kill him. Be careful of his supreme divine artifact. The Xian immortal with his hands behind his back did not move. Instead, he ordered Xianming to attack. Yes. Xian immortal leader. Xianming replied and walked towards Master Wan Jian with an ice sword in his hand. He said disdainfully, "Trash cultivator from a trash territory, don't say that we from the Xianbing territory are bullying you. I'll give you 3 moves. Go ahead." 3 moves. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to attack. Master Wan Jian snorted disdainfully. He did not know Xianming's strength, and his opponent did not know his strength either. They were fighting by chance. Moreover, both of them were complete sovereigns. Both of them had a chance of winning. With a roar, Master Wan Jian swung his sword to test Xianming's strength. The sword did not seem to have any skills, but it was extremely fast. It had the momentum of the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. You don't even use your ultimate skill. Are you looking down on me? Seeing that Master Wan Jian did not use his ultimate skill, Xianming said coldly. He then used his ice sword to release a sword chi that collided with Master Wan Jian's attack. Master Wan Jian's immortal slaying sword was a supreme divine artifact after all. He did not dare to use his ice sword to block the attack. Boom! Xianming's sword chi was broken by Master Wan Jian's attack. This supreme divine artifact is very sharp. However, his strength is not as strong as Xianming. What an interesting battle. While Xianbing was observing the battle, she used her spiritual energy to scan her surroundings. Soon, she found Night Sorrow's location. After all, Night Sorrow did not set up any special array when he entered the stone chamber. When she found Night Sorrow's location, Xianbing immediately calmed down. In her opinion, the people from the realm of gods were nothing to be afraid of. Even if Night Sorrow was included, they were not a threat. She began to watch the battle patiently. She thought to herself, since you don't want to come out, I will let you have a taste of how it feels to kill your companions one by one. Xianbing was not in a hurry to attack. In Xianbing's opinion, the battle with the realm of chaos in the past was a real battle. This was a completely one-sided slaughter. Since it was a slaughter, it was the same as a cat playing with a mouse. She just wanted to entertain herself. The others from Xianbing's territory were the same. They did not take the cultivators from the realm of gods seriously. At this time, the battle between Master Wan Jian and Xianming had lasted for more than 10 breaths. The 3 moves that Xianming allowed had ended long ago. When Xianming allowed Master Wan Jian to attack, Master Wan Jian did not use his ultimate skill. He only used ordinary attacks and did not take advantage of Xianming at all. After the 3 moves, Master Wan Jian unleashed his ultimate skills and used his supreme divine artifact, the immortal slaying sword, to suppress Xianming. Ha, Xianming, you are suppressed by a cultivator from a trash territory. Isn't this a little embarrassing? Xian Tai, the other vice-captain of Xian Bing's territory, mocked Xian Ming when he saw that Xian Ming was suppressed. When Xian Ming heard Xian Tai's mocking, he snorted coldly and said, "What do you know? I am just teasing him." After Xian Ming shouted those words, the ice sword in his hand immediately exploded with powerful ripples. At the same time, he started to burn his bloodline power and raised his strength to the highest level. He started to take the battle seriously. Genius 1 second. Remember this address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2961. What a powerful divine domain. When Xian Ming completely opened up his divine domain, Myriad Sword Sect immediately felt the pressure. After Xian Ming got serious, his aura was completely different. He seemed to be suppressing Myriad Sword Sect. However, Myriad Sword Sect was not afraid. He also burned his bloodline power to increase his strength. Then, he used his strongest technique. Great Deity Sword Technique. He suddenly attacked Xian Ming. Humph. Great Deity Sword Technique. What a big mouth. Let's see what you're made of. Go to hell. Facing Myriad Sword Sect's Great Deity Sword Technique, Xian Ming's face was full of contempt. He also used his strongest technique. Xian Ming's sword. Although Xian Ming did not combine with the ice sword in his hand, he poured all of his divine origin energy into it. Then, he attacked Myriad Sword Sect, who had turned into a giant sword. You're the one who should die. In the face of Xian Ming's ice sword, the Myriad Sword Sect did not hesitate at all. Boom! After the two of them collided in the void, Xian Ming's ice sword was immediately shattered. However, Myriad Sword Sect was also pushed back. Myriad Sword Sect, who had fallen to the ground, was severely injured and could no longer fight. Bastard! My ice soul sword! Although he defeated Myriad Sword Sect, his ice soul sword was destroyed. This made Xian Ming completely furious. Immediately, he attacked the Master of 10,000 Swords, intending to kill him. How dare you! How could Xiao Tianxian continue watching when he saw the Xianming dynasty's 10,000 Swords sect unleash their killer move? Not only did he block the attack with a single blow, but he also helped the Master of the 10,000 Swords back. How dare you interfere in a battle between two people? You people from the heavenly realm are really shameless. Xian Xian said disdainfully when he saw Xiao Tianxian saving Myriad Sword Sect. It's a battle between two people. It's not a battle to the death. Why can't I interfere? Xiao Tianxian replied calmly. Before the battle, they did not agree to a battle to the death. What he did was not against the rules. Hee hee. If that's the case, we won't talk nonsense with you. Kill them. Kill all the cultivators from the heavenly realm. The Xian Immortal ordered coldly when he heard Xiao Tianchuan's words. He himself looked in Yishang's direction. He shouted, "You coward! Are you still not going to come out?" However, Night Sorrow did not respond. What should we do? Night Sorrow hasn't broken through yet. We have no chance of winning against a Xian Immortal territory. Seeing that the Mystic Ice Territory's people were about to attack, Yuan Fengxue immediately frowned and transmitted a message to everyone. What else can we do? Stall for time until Night Sorrow becomes a sovereign. Now, we can only put our hopes on him. Tianxian said Xian Ming. Under these circumstances, he couldn't just stand by and watch as Night Sorrow led the God Realm's forces to escape. Ming, let's to the end. Deity battle. When Murong Zhenlu and the others heard Xiao Tianchuan's words, they were ready to fight. The heavenly realm's cultivators were ready to fight to the death. It was the same as when they fought in the Blood Star. Hee hee. Trash territory, you're quite united. You're about to die and you're still talking nonsense. If I were you, I would have run. Xian Tai, the vice leader of the Xianbing territory, shouted in disdain when he saw how determined the Heavenly Realm's cultivators were. At the same time, Xiao Tianxian kept the heavily injured Wan Jianzong into his space grotto heaven and let him consume some pills to recover. He then ignited his bloodline power and raised his strength to the maximum. He was ready to fight to the death. But at this moment, Wu Lingfei suddenly stepped forward. She looked at the Xianbing territory Xian Xian and said, Xian Xian, I want to challenge you. Do you dare to accept? You want to challenge me with just you? Are you worthy? Xian Xian looked at Wu Lingfei with disdain and said, trash like you is not even a match for me. You're not even worthy to stall for time. Whether I'm worthy or not, we'll know once we try. Wu Lingfei looked at Xian Xian fearlessly. The Heavenly Realm's cultivators started to persuade her. In their eyes, Wu Lingfei was courting death by challenging Xian Xian. Don't worry, everyone. I have a way to hold on for a while. At the very least, I can last longer than everyone else. After the Heavenly Realm's cultivators tried to persuade her, Wu Lingfei firmly transmitted her voice to them. That won't do. We can't let you shoulder this alone. Xiao Tianxian immediately disagreed. At this time, Xian Xian's interest was piqued and he said, it's interesting to see your desperate faces. You want to fight with me? I'll accept. However, since we're going to fight to the death, do you dare to accept? Isn't it just a fight to the death? What's there to be afraid of? I'll accept. Wu Lingfei flew to the empty space and looked at Xian Xian fearlessly. In fact, with her current strength, fighting Xian Xian was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. However, Wu Lingfei hoped to buy some time for Night's Sorrow as much as possible. Since you've agreed, I'll satisfy you. It's just a matter of a breath. It won't affect the overall situation. Xian Xian, who had ordered the Profound Ice Realm's cultivators to attack, looked at them and smiled. In his opinion, he only needed a breath to deal with Wu Lingfei. Moreover, he, who was somewhat perverted, enjoyed seeing the despair in the eyes of the Heavenly Realm's cultivators. Originally, he only needed one move to deal with Wu Lingfei, so he wasn't in a hurry to attack. He looked at Wu Lingfei and said, you should attack first. If I attack first, you won't have a chance to attack. All right. Wu Lingfei, who was floating in the air, responded and ignited her phoenix bloodline. This bloodline was inherited from Ancestor Phoenix, but it wasn't necessarily weaker than Ancestor Phoenix's. When Wu Lingfei raised her strength to the peak, she would suddenly use her strongest technique against the Xian Immortal. Ice Phoenix Sky Howl. She transformed into the form of an ice phoenix and soared into the sky to attack the Xian Immortal. Hehe, you have pretty good ice attribute potential. Unfortunately, you were born in the wrong place. Reincarnate into my profound ice realm. I, Xian Xian, will provide you with cultivation resources. Xian Immortal was surprised to see Wu Ling concubine charging at him with a trail of icy light. Originally, he only saw that Wu Lingfei belonged to the Phoenix clan, but he didn't expect her to be an ice phoenix. Her attribute was very compatible with the profound ice realm. However, Xian Xian didn't hold back at all. He directly blasted out an incomparably powerful attack. Although he didn't use a divine artifact, his strength wasn't something that Wu Lingfei could compare to. He raised his hand and shot out a beam of light that directly pierced through the ice phoenix's chest. Wu Lingfei's attack also came to an abrupt end. Wu Lingfei. Although they already knew that Wu Lingfei wasn't a match for Xian Xian, seeing her chest being pierced through still caused them to be shocked. Yuan Fengxue and the other cultivators of the Heavenly Realm all cried out with heartache. Genius 1 second. Remember this site. Human mobile version website. Chapter 2962. As the crowd cried out in grief, Xiao Tianxian bitterly glanced at Yi Shang's location. At this moment, Yi Shang was still cultivating and showed no signs of waking up. This made him very anxious. After Wu Lingfei's death, Xianbing territory would launch their final attack. At that time, the people from the realm of gods would be killed in an instant. After all, Xianxian's casual attack just now was so powerful that they could not withstand it at all. If everyone from Xianbing territory attacked together, the people from the realm of gods would not be able to hold on for more than 20 breaths. These 20 breaths were like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It would not play a decisive role in their cultivation. I'll leave a trace of your soul for you to be reincarnated. Remember, you must be reincarnated into Xianbing territory. Otherwise, I'll kill you every time I see you. At this moment, the Xian immortal had a cold smile on his face as he spoke sinisterly. Everyone from Xianbing territory laughed when they heard this. Xian Ming, who had recovered from his injuries, laughed sinisterly. Hee, leader. I think this woman is quite pretty. If she is reincarnated into Xianbing territory, you can keep her as a cultivation vessel. It's not impossible. Hearing this, Xian smiled at Wu Lingfei's remnant soul and said, hurry up and reincarnate. Bang! Wu Lingfei's soul did not reincarnate after hearing this. Instead, she chose to self-destruct on the spot. Why bother? In your next life, be with the right man. Xian smiled and shouted at Night Sorrow, coward, I've killed your woman. You still don't dare to come out. At this time, the people from the realm of gods were all sad when they saw Wu Lingfei's soul exploding. However, they were no match for the people from Xianbing territory. If they stopped, they would not be able to buy much time. Therefore, everyone, including Xiao Tianxian, was holding back. They were waiting for the cultivators from Xianbing territory to make their move. Ha. It's not just the one inside who's a coward, all of you trash are the same. Kill them. Xian roared. Night Sorrow and the people from the realm of gods did not move. He immediately ordered the people from Xianbing territory to attack. Screech! At this moment, a loud and clear phoenix cry suddenly rang out in the originally silent sky. Wu Lingfei was reborn at the place where she had fallen. After about 20 breaths, he had completely recovered, and his strength had increased. After recovering, Wu Lingfei looked at where Night Sorrow was cultivating and thought, you protect the world. As for me, I will still protect you like before. After that, he turned to look at the Xian immortal and said, our battle isn't over yet. Let's continue. Nirvana rebirth. Good. This time, I'll let you die even more thoroughly. Xian's face immediately darkened when he saw that Wu Lingfei was completely unharmed. With a loud bang, he launched an attack that was exactly the same as before. Phoenix Cry 9 Heavens. This time, Wu Lingfei didn't dodge the same attack. Instead, she transformed into an ice phoenix and used Phoenix Cry in the 9th heaven. He used the Tong Tian's cry to resolve this attack. Wu Lingfei has been reborn and blocked the Xian immortal's attack. Am I dreaming? Yuan Fengxue, whose tears had already burst out, shouted in disbelief when he saw that Wu Lingfei had been reborn and had become even stronger. You didn't see wrong. She has indeed been reborn. This should be the bloodline talent of the Phoenix clan. However, every phoenix has a limited chance of being reborn. It's impossible for her to be reborn endlessly. Xiao Tianxian explained. He knew some things about the Phoenix clan, but he didn't know much. I see. Then Wu Lingfei is still in danger of dying. Hearing Xiao Tianchuan's explanation, Yuan Fengxue, who was in the sky, became nervous again. Moreover, Not long after, something that worried her happened again. After Wu Lingfei blocked the Xian Immortal's attack, the Xian Immortal was completely enraged. He directly used his ultimate technique on her. After Wu Lingfei's strength increased, the gap between the two was still very large. The ultimate technique used by the Xian Immortal was not something that Wu Lingfei could contend with in terms of strength or speed. She was killed again without any suspense. After killing Wu Lingfei again, the Xian Immortal looked at the sky and raised his eyebrows. Come. Continue to be reborn. Let's see how many times you can be reborn. Screech. Not long after the Xian Immortal said that, a phoenix rang out. The cry of a phoenix came from the void again, and concubine Wu Ling was reborn. After being reborn, she looked at where Night Sorrow was and fought with the Xian Immortal again. This time, Wu Lingfei took on the Xian Immortal's ultimate technique, but the Xian Immortal used a divine weapon to kill her again. Wu Lingfei. Seeing Wu Lingfei being killed again and again, Yuan Fengxue, the only female cultivator in the heavenly realm, choked with sobs. She didn't know what kind of power gave Wu Lingfei the courage to die again and again. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't control herself. She looked at where Night Sorrow was and said, "Why haven't you come out yet? Why haven't you come out yet? Can't you see that Wu Lingfei is being killed again and again?" The others in the heavenly realm were also very sad to see Wu Lingfei being killed again and again. But even if they attacked, the result wouldn't be better, so they could only stay silent. Screech. Night Sorrow still didn't come out, but Wu Lingfei was reborn again. After being reborn, Wu Lingfei looked at where Night Sorrow was and murmured, "After thousands of years of companionship, today is the end. I hope you will remember me." A tear fell from Wu Lingfei's eye as she murmured. She didn't wipe it, but flew into the sky again and stood in front of the Xian Immortal. "Let's go again." And this time, she had used up all of her chances of being reborn. If she was killed again, there would be no hope of recovery. You are a woman who cares about relationships. However, in the eyes of a Xian Immortal like me, your so-called decisiveness is nothing but dog shit. Die again. The Xian Immortal roared in disdain and continued to use his divine weapon to fight Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei, who had been reborn again and again, was now a middle-level dominator, but she was still a bit weaker than the Xian Immortal. And the divine weapon of the Xian Immortal was a supreme divine weapon. Facing his continuous attacks, she was soon at a disadvantage again. "Brother Xiao, what should we do? What should we do? We can't watch Wu Lingfei be killed." Yuan Fengxue, who heard Wu Lingfei's murmurs, said with tears in her eyes. She couldn't bear to see Wu Lingfei being killed one after another. She couldn't bear to see her completely die. "There's no other way. We can only fight. Everyone, prepare to detonate your divine weapons, delay for as long as possible." After thinking for a while, Xiao Tianxian transmitted his voice to the people in the heavenly realm. At this time, the Xian Immortal who was suppressing Wu Lingfei once again used a sure-kill attack on her. Mystic Ice Rain Sword. Genius remembered this address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2963. Mystic Ice Rain Sword. This was one of Xian Xian's 3 killing moves. Usually, he would only use it when he was fighting an opponent of equal strength. Now that he was facing Wu Lingfei, he had a strange feeling that if he didn't use this move, he wouldn't be able to kill her. Although Wu Lingfei was only a middle-level dominator, her battle strength was already much stronger than an upper-level dominator. She posed a threat to Xian Xian. Of course, this was exchanged for by her several Nirvana rebirth. But from now on, she couldn't use Nirvana rebirth anymore. If she died, she would really die. Phoenix Dance of the 9 Heavens. When Xian Xian used Mystic Ice Rain Sword, everyone in Divine Realm moved. They all helped Wu Lingfei block this move. After Xiao Tianxian and the others attacked, Wu Lingfei let out a battle cry and used her strongest move, Phoenix Dance of the Nine Heavens. She who was originally an ice phoenix immediately turned into a golden heavenly phoenix. Everyone in Divine Realm attacked together, and with Wu Lingfei's strongest move, they blocked Xian Xian's attack. All of you are trash. None of you can fight. Don't move. Against them, Xian alone is enough. At this time, Xian Xian laughed instead of being angry. He stopped the others who wanted to attack and fought with the Divine Realm army alone. Those from the Divine World immediately unleashed their combined attacks. But Night Sorrow and Myriad Sword Sect weren't here, so their battle strength was limited. Soon, they were suppressed by Xian Xian alone. A Xian Xian who was fully unleashed was much stronger than what the Divine Realm army had imagined. Ha ha ha. Trash, all of you are trash. Even if all of you from the Heavenly Realm were to join forces, you still wouldn't be a match for me. What face do you have left to live in this world? Go to hell. After suppressing the Divine Realm army, Xian Xian laughed without restraint. His laughter was extremely arrogant. Ha ha ha. Leader is mighty, Divine Realm will be destroyed today. Xian Ming and the others all shouted excitedly. To them, this was a completely one-sided suppression, so they didn't feel any psychological burden. The depression from the battle with Chaos Territory was also vented. Ha ha ha. I'm curious, why don't you all crush your identity plates? There are so many opportunities. Xian Xian attacked continuously, Divine Realm army was in danger. Wu Lingfei and Murong Jinlu were both heavily injured, and were almost killed a few times. But they didn't take out their identity plates, which made Xian Xian surprised. Our territory in the Divine Realm will definitely enter the top 1000 in this year's Battle of Providence. We will never give up. Xiao Tianxian, who had self-detonated his half-step Supreme Stage God artifact, and Divine Realm army's level. The people from the other God Realm territories were the same. They would rather sacrifice themselves to buy time for Yishang than crush their identity plates to escape. As far as they were concerned, so long as Night Sorrow could advance to become a sovereign, then there was hope for their territory in the God Realm. Xian Xian's varices. Unfortunately, it's all in vain. Xian Xian, Xian Xian, S swords Xian, TSSXT S is gods XTXT to XS because the Xian immortal suddenly disappeared, no one in the divine world could find him. It was as if he had silently gone to a different world, making it impossible for anyone to detect his aura. However, the strange thing was that everyone in the divine world could clearly feel the killing intent. Everyone looked at each other, their hearts in their throats. Wu Lingfei looked in the direction of Night Sorrow. She had a premonition that the Xian immortal's target would be her. She wanted to see Night Sorrow one last time. Looks like you've understood something. Go to hell. Seeing that Wu Lingfei was looking at Night Sorrow, the Xian immortal hidden in the void suddenly roared and slashed at Wu Lingfei's chest. Just then, Wu Lingfei's eyes widened. This was not because of fear, but because she saw the stone room Night Sorrow was in suddenly explode. A furious Night Sorrow suddenly flew out from the ground. Reincarnation Spear. The moment Night Sorrow flew out from the ground, a dense tribulation cloud immediately rose in the sky. However, he did not care about this and immediately used his golden heavenly halberd to strike the Xian immortal with the reincarnation spear. At this moment, if the Xian immortal continued to attack Wu Lingfei, he would definitely be pierced by Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. How could he be willing to exchange his life for Wu Lingfei's? He kept his sword and disappeared into the void. After the Xian immortal disappeared, Night Sorrow immediately protected the exhausted Wu Lingfei and said, "Come to my space paradise to heal." In the future, it will be my turn to protect you. You heard it. Hearing this, Wu Lingfei's eyes were immediately covered with tears. I heard it. I will remember it in my heart and will never forget it. Yi Shang said gently. Then he took Wu Lingfei back into his space grotto heaven. At this moment, Wu Lingfei's heart ached so much that he wanted to cry. At this moment, he decided to break all the barriers between the two of them. After that, Night Sorrow looked at Xiao Tianxian and the rest and said, Everyone, you have worked hard. You have done enough. Leave the rest to me. I alone am enough to deal with the Xianbing territory. I alone am enough. This was what the Xian Immortal had said before. Now, Night Sorrow had returned it to him word for word. Arrogant. You, a ruler who has not undergone tribulation, want to challenge my Xianbing territory with your own strength. Hearing Night Sorrow return his words to him word for word, the Xian Immortal immediately flew into a rage. He roared, You should first think about how to pass the ruler tribulation with my ability. Do you dare to interfere with my ruler tribulation? Facing the Xian Immortal, Yi Shang spoke in a dignified manner and flew into the air. At this moment, the lightning tribulation was extremely dense. Night Sorrow flew into the sky and was immediately attacked by the tribulation cloud. He calmly waited for the lightning tribulation body to form. The Xian Immortal had just caught up when he was attacked by the same lightning. He could not resist this level of lightning. Soon, he flew far away. He ordered, This person's ruler tribulation is almost at the level of a supreme lightning tribulation. It is impossible to get close to him. Everyone, attack together. We cannot let him pass the tribulation successfully. At this moment, the Xian Immortal was very regretful that he had delayed for so long. If he had known that Night Sorrow was so strong, he would have attacked long ago. After finding the people of the heavenly realm, the Xian Immortal had been thinking that victory was in his hands. However, when Night Sorrow's tribulation appeared, he immediately felt a sense of foreboding. He immediately regretted that he had let the tiger return to the mountain. What? He is so strong. The other cultivators of the Xianbing territory did not get close to the tribulation cloud and were not attacked. Therefore, they did not realize how terrifying the tribulation cloud was. He is more powerful than you think. Hearing this, the Xian Immortal ordered coldly, Immediately use secret treasures, divine weapons, and talismans to kill him. Don't be stingy with anything. Clan. Chapter 2964. Yes, leader. After receiving the order, the people of Dark Ice Estate immediately threw out their divine talismans and secret treasures. Beams of light were like blooming fireworks as they bombarded Yi Shan's location. However, before these attacks could get close to Night Sorrow, they were shattered by the lightning released by the tribulation cloud. At this time, Xian Ming said in surprise, Leader, could it be that his body is stronger than our secret treasures and divine talismans? It should be so. His body is stronger than yours and mine. I wonder how strong he will be after he passes the sovereign tribulation. Xian Xian said bitterly. The more he spoke, the more he regretted not taking action earlier and allowing Night Sorrow to reach the sovereign realm. I didn't expect that there would be another person after the supreme longevity in the realm of the gods. We even caught up with him. Xian Ming sighed. However, there were more than 20 sovereigns in Dark Ice Estate and he was not afraid. Leader. He needs to pass the tribulation. Why don't we set up a formation around him? After all, it is better to be safe than sorry. Xian Tai, the other vice leader of Dark Ice Estate, said maliciously. Currently, they could not deal with Night Sorrow, who was hiding in the tribulation cloud. He felt that they could use this time to set up a formation. Yes. Set up the formation. Let's make it difficult for him to escape. Xian said and started to lead the people of Dark Ice Estate to set up the formation. What can you do by setting up a formation in front of me? Night Sorrow, who was floating in the tribulation cloud, looked at the people of Dark Ice Estate with the sea serpent's eye and smiled disdainfully. These people were setting up the formation in front of him and he could see every detail. After he passed the tribulation, it would be easy for him to break the formation. Brother Yi, are you sure you can pass the tribulation cloud? Jin Xian, who felt the power of the tribulation cloud, could not help but ask Night Sorrow. The tribulation cloud in front of them did not look like a sovereign tribulation. It looked like a supreme tribulation. The strong pressure made them feel as if they were facing the supreme wolf king in the grassland. Don't worry, brother Jin Xian. There shouldn't be any problems. Night Sorrow replied confidently. Through all these years of cultivation, he had completely absorbed the laws and essence of the Horned Sovereign and comprehended something that belonged to him. As long as he could overcome the lightning tribulation, he would be able to fight on par with ordinary Jizuan cultivators. If there's no problem with the tribulation, then I'm relieved. If you can survive such a terrifying tribulation, then these sovereigns will definitely be no match for you. Jin Xian said in a relaxed tone. Then he continued, this time, it was all thanks to Lady Ling concubine that we were able to hold on until you came out. You must treat me well in the future. You don't talk nonsense. Hearing this, Wu Lingfei immediately felt embarrassed. Ha! This is not Jin Xian's nonsense. We can all see your feelings for Night Sorrow. Furthermore, we also heard what you were mumbling at that time. At this time, Yuan Fingxue also joked with a smile. Concubine Ling, I will protect you from now on. I won't put you in danger. Everyone laughed at Wu Lingfei's teasing. At this time, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. After hearing Yi Shang's words, Wu Lingfei first smiled before bursting into tears. After she calmed down, Murongguizhi, who had recovered from his injuries, said, it's settled then. In addition, I feel that if Night Sorrow can fight the Xianbing territory alone, our Divine Realm territory's results will definitely be unbelievably good. This time, our Divine Realm territory will really be able to turn things around. Now that you say it, it seems to make sense. Hearing Murongguizhi's words, Yuan Fingxue's eyes lit up. Perhaps this time, not only will we be able to enter the top 1,000, we might even be able to enter the top 100. In other words, we will be able to obtain the top 3 in the small world. Top 3. I will do my best. After Yuan Fingxue finished speaking, Night Sorrow nodded. At this time, he had not succeeded in passing the tribulation, so he did not know how much his strength would increase. This was because after passing the tribulation, not only would he obtain the Heavenly Tao's blessing, it was also very likely that he would have the ability to absorb the earthly sovereign's law and essence that Feng Wuji had injected into his body. If he could absorb those, he would have 100% confidence in fighting against earthly sovereigns. You have to be careful. If you have to bear everything alone, my heart will ache. After Yi Shang finished speaking, Wu Lingfei immediately said in a soft voice. Although in her heart, Night Sorrow was an undefeatable god of war who had never disappointed anyone, she was still very worried. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Night Sorrow said and continued, you guys recover well. I will recover and prepare to receive the lightning tribulation energy body. Alright. Then we won't disturb you anymore. Xiao Tianxian and Night Sorrow said and then looked at the rest of the people in the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow's strength increasing is a great thing for the realm of the gods, but we can't rely on him for everything. Let's hurry up and increase our strength. Yes. We can't be the ones who drag him down forever. Everyone is the same as Night Sorrow, we are all part of the realm of the gods. At the very least, we need to have the ability to support him. Shui Changtian, who had not spoken for a long time, also nodded and said. After that, the rest of the people also expressed their opinions. They did not want to continue watching the show in the realm of the gods. While Night Sorrow was recovering, they also swallowed their own elixirs to recover. As for the injured one Jianzong, he felt a little strange because he felt a strange calling. However, he did not know where the calling came from and why it sounded in his mind. What is going on? Wan Jianzong was puzzled. Just as he was thinking about what was going on, after a period of condensation, the lightning tribulation energy figure in the void was completely formed. It turned into a human body that was the same size as Night Sorrow. Come. Defeat you, and I can become a true sovereign. Looking at the lightning tribulation energy figure, Night Sorrow roared with confidence. After entering the eternal supreme world, the speed of cultivation was many times faster than in the realm of the gods. However, to be able to welcome the sovereign tribulation in such a short time, Night Sorrow was still very excited. Master Wuji, this Night Sorrow of the realm of the gods is probably going to make a name for himself in the War of Providence. What should we do next? Supreme Yuling, who was watching everything from the outside, said with a bitter face. Xian Immortal and the others in the Mystic Ice realm had been showing off to Night Sorrow for successfully advancing to the Sovereign realm, and he was extremely unhappy. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 2965. What should we do? Upon hearing that, Feng Wuji appeared beside Supreme Yuling and sneered. If he can successfully transcend the tribulation and destroy the Mystic Ice estate, transfer the Tao world over immediately. Let the people of the Tao world fight with him. All right. That's the only way. Supreme Yuling nodded. At that moment, a trace of doubt arose in his heart, as he felt that Feng Wuji's attitude was a little strange. He could not figure out whether he wanted to nurture Night Sorrow and then destroy him to completely destroy the supreme longevity or if he had other plans. At that moment, Feng Wuji looked at Dao Wui, who was nearby. Does the Tao world's hidden Dao Jun have the strength to fight against a supreme? My lord, Dao Jun of the Tao world might be ranked in the top 10 of this year's Battle for Providence, but I'm not sure if he has the strength to fight against a supreme. Dao Wui answered respectfully. He did not dare hide anything from an Earth supremacy like Feng Wuji. The Tao world is holding back and trying to rush into the top 10. Feng Wuji smiled casually and continued, however, if you want to enter the top 10, you have to destroy the Divine World Estate. My lord, do you mean that even the Tao World Estate is not confident of winning against the Divine World Estate? Upon hearing Feng Wuji's words, Dao Wui asked in disbelief, is Yi Shang really that formidable? If nothing goes wrong, as long as he advances to the ruler realm, he can challenge an ordinary supreme. Even if he doesn't have the supreme longevity, he'll be another supreme longevity. Feng Wuji said word by word as he looked at the screen. Upon hearing that, Supreme Yuling and Dao Wui exchanged glances, finding it unbelievable. Then, Supreme Yuling looked at Feng Wuji and asked, My lord, is what you said true? Are you doubting my judgment? Feng Wuji reprimanded in an unpleasant tone. This is a big deal. After Feng Wuji said that, Supreme Yuling immediately took a deep breath and said, the eternal supreme world cannot have another supreme longevity. We must kill him in this battle for Providence. We can't let a tiger return to the mountain. You know what to do. Feng Wuji looked at Supreme Yuling and asked. Of course. Of course. Supreme Yuling immediately nodded. Tao World Supremacy, Dao Wui, also said, Don't worry, Your Excellency. One person is not considered strong at all. I still have confidence in the Tao World's territory. He shouldn't be able to leave this small world. Good. Then I'll wait and see. Feng Wuji said and didn't say anything else. Supreme Yuling and Dao Wui stood behind him and continued to watch the scenes in the lesser world. At this time, Night Sorrow's Thunder Tribulation had already formed a Thunder Tribulation energy body. This time, the Lightning Tribulation energy body that Night Sorrow was facing looked similar to the ones he had faced in the past. However, the energy fluctuations on his body made his heart tremble. Powerful. This Lightning Tribulation energy body was simply too powerful. It gave people the feeling that it could destroy the world. Very strong, but your strength is used to make me stronger. After the Lightning Tribulation energy body formed, Night Sorrow roared and fought with it with the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. At this time, more than 100 supreme supremacies were watching the scene of Night Sorrow's tribulation with Feng Wuji. Although they were the best among supreme supremacies, this was the first time they saw a ruler going through a supreme tribulation. After all, it was almost impossible to challenge someone of a higher level in the eternal supreme world. Even if a ruler could challenge a supreme, it would basically be a half-step supreme. For example, Night Sorrow, who hadn't completely formed a ruler's body, could directly face such a powerful Lightning Tribulation energy body. This was completely beyond their imagination. This child can't be left alive. Yes, he can't be left alive. We can't watch as a second supreme longevity appears. When Night Sorrow and the Lightning Tribulation energy body completely fought and vaguely gained the upper hand, some supreme supremacies present spoke one after another. Many of them were from territories that had made a move against Eternal Paragon or the territories of the God Realm. Naturally, they didn't want to see Night Sorrow grow stronger. That's why we have to kill him in this battle of providence. At this time, Feng Wuji continued, otherwise, with his strength, he will definitely be able to obtain enough providence for the Divine World territories. With the support of Providence, he can hide in the Divine World territories and rely on the Forbidden Zones to grow. By then, it will be even more difficult to deal with him. After all, with the support of Providence, if he recklessly enters other territories, he will be attacked by the Eternal Supreme World. Lord Earth Supreme, if he's lucky enough to get a ranking, we can also kill him on the spot. After Feng Wuji finished speaking, Supreme Yuling spoke up. She felt that if Night Sorrow did well in this battle of providence, it would be best to kill him directly. After all, some of the territories present had already dealt with the supreme longevity. It wouldn't be a big deal to attack Yisheng again. It's not that we can't. But the key is who does it. Feng Wuji sneered. Killing someone in the battle of providence will consume a large amount of providence. They will also be attacked by the Eternal Supreme World. Who is willing to do it? This matter can be discussed at length. Supreme Yuling said with an awkward expression. She meant to let Feng Wuji choose someone to do it. After all, most people wouldn't be willing to do such a thing. At least, Yuling didn't want to do it personally. Then, Supreme Yuling changed the topic. This Lightning Tribulation energy clone doesn't seem to be a threat to him. Everyone who was originally focused on Feng Wuji looked and realized that it was indeed so. Night Sorrow, who was in the void, was simply incomparably dauntless. Most people would use the method of exhausting the Lightning Tribulation energy clone when facing it, but Night Sorrow faced it head-on. Moreover, he had a certain amount of initiative. Under Night Sorrow's continuous head-on attacks, the Lightning Tribulation energy clone soon couldn't hold on and was forcefully destroyed. And after Night Sorrow defeated the Lightning Tribulation energy clone, he completely received the Heavenly Tao's law of providence. He became a true overlord. Is this what it feels like to be an overlord? It's definitely 1,000 times stronger than the Divine King's realm. Night Sorrow, who had become an overlord, didn't immediately try to absorb the earthly supreme's law of providence and essence. Instead, after feeling it for a while, He looked at the leader of the Mystic Immortal and said, I said that I alone am enough to deal with the Mystic Immortal. Let's fight now. Let's fight then. Do you think the Mystic Immortal territory is afraid of you alone? Hearing Night Sorrow's roar, the Mystic Immortal said disdainfully and shouted, Open the array for me. Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.